15 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Good morning. I'm John Schaefer. Nevada reporting 373 COVID-19 related deaths statewide as of this morning. That's up 8 deaths from Tuesday morning. State exceeded 7,000 cases as the number of tests conducted in the last 24 hours increased by more than 6,500. Nearly 104,000 tests have been conducted and more than 80,000 tests for the virus have come back negative in Nevada. The Venetian is planning to reopen June 1st. According to the resort's website, bookings are being accepted beginning on that day. Las Vegas Sands Corporation says they will open their resorts in phases, the Venetian Tower first, followed by the Palazzo Tower at a later date. According to a statement released by the company Tuesday, the property plans to reopen with a full-service casino, more than a dozen restaurants, a renovated Venetian pool deck, and multiple retail outlets. Nevada Congresswoman Dina Titus has become the first member of the Nevada congressional delegation to speak out on the Congressman Stephen Horsford affair that came to light over the weekend. Speaking to Sharp and Shapiro on the Vegas Take here on KDAWN on Tuesday, Titus said Horsford called her to let her know what was about to come out in the news.
He says it's a personal matter. It doesn't involve his professional office or anything. And he wants people to respect his privacy so he can work it out with his family, and that's what I'm doing.
Titus said she does not know if the Congressional Ethics Committee will investigate. Treasury Chief Stephen Mnuchin has come under sharp questioning from 2 Senate Democrats about the virus response.
At a Senate Banking Committee hearing, Elizabeth Warren said Mnuchin's not doing enough to force companies getting money under a virus relief package to keep workers on the payroll, when he would not commit to doing that.
You're in charge of $500 billion. You're boosting your Wall Street budget.
Mnuchin had earlier pointed to the high unemployment numbers as reason to reopen the economy.
The large number represents real people. This is why it's so important to begin bringing people back to work in a safe way.
Sherrod Brown says it doesn't look safe to him.
How many workers should give their lives to increase the GDP of the Dow Jones by 1,000?
Mnuchin called that unfair.
I don't know. Titus kind of gave that kind of
a review by the Associated Press finds that at least 35 states are disclosing COVID-19 patients' test results to first responders in their communities.
Despite the assurance that virus testing is confidential, state and local health departments keep track of who's received a test in their region and then provide the information to dispatch centers. A review by the Associated Press finds 35 states share a patient's address to police or fire crews, and at least 10 states even share the patient's names. Some advocates are concerned that might prevent some people from seeking testing. Jackie Quinn, Washington.
They check on our weather. Here's News 3's Kelly Curran.
Cool temperatures again today with morning lows in the 50s. Highs this afternoon expected to top out right around that 80-degree mark in Las Vegas, and we'll still see plenty of sunshine. Keep listening for more updates throughout the day from News 3, your weather authority.
Sunny 66 in Las Vegas. I'm John Schaefer on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDAWN, Las Vegas' only FM news talk station. Here's John Michaels with the latest on the roads.
From the Monroe Traffic Studio.
What's her name again?
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. An accident, I-15 southbound near Charleston. Vehicles remain off to the right. And the accident 15 northbound at Charleston, still a factor as well. Watch for vehicles that are off to the side. And debris to watch for 15 northbound just north of Charleston. So cleanup has to commence for that as well. Also a crash further up the line in the northeast valley, 15 north at Speedway at the exit ramp. You have delays for a crash there. Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. They help millions of people like you take control of their personal information online. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDAWN Traffic Center.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera. News 3 live at 11.
Have you been lied to by Washington politicians in the Wall Street propaganda machine? Hi, I'm Inc. Magazine best-selling author Brett Kitchen. And if you're over 55 with an IRA or 401k, I want to give you a free copy of my new book, Wealth Beyond Wall Street, because according to Time Magazine, Wall Street's these 401ks have failed millions of Americans. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash years ago, I said enough. And since then, I've discovered a way to grow money potential double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits. When the next market crash hits, you lose nothing. Call Wealth Beyond Wall Street now to get your free book and talk to a specialist to discover this little-known strategy to get potential double-digit growth during good years and never lose in the next market crash.
Call 800-436-8181 to discover this asset that people like Walt Disney and JCPenney use to grow wealthy. Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling, no credit card.
This is coming from the guy who eats
Call
Crustables.
800-436-8181.
Yeah, okay.
1-800-436-8181. That's 1-800-436-8181.
This is good news, maybe exactly when you need it too. Right now, MediShare is waiving their new member fees. This could save you money on top of all that you'll save each month by becoming a member of MediShare. So many people are looking for a healthcare solution right now, seeing the cost of Clover plans, for instance, and MediShare is the affordable alternative to health insurance. The typical family saves $500 a month. You might save even more. MediShare is a Christian community that shares each other's healthcare costs, and because of the current economic situation, they're making it easier than ever. Apply by May 30th, and you can save an additional $170 on your first month. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Just tell them the promo code SHARE to receive your additional savings. Maybe now is the time to make the switch like more than 400,000 people already have and start saving. Here it is. Call 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
Parents, you always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price, whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one. You cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777, or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media
I'm just
Group.
saying I could argue that.
I'm not saying he didn't have a job.
I'm saying this depression could have started years ago.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Las Vegas. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Wednesday. It is hump day. It is coronavirus hump day. Broadcasting live from the kitchen table of yours truly. A lot to get to, a lot to go over today. Again, this show covers it all, the left, the right, everywhere in the middle. But we're not just a political talk show. Some people might think that. But we're not. We cover it all here with the world of entertainment, sports, you name it, even though there's not a lot of entertainment and sports going on right now, although Donald Trump does most of the entertaining for us. We'll get to that. He's been getting in a lot of fights with Nancy Pelosi, with a reporter yesterday,
with governors,
and now Barack Obama. And we're going to have the only liberal talk show host in the state of Nevada, Doug Basham, will be joining us at the bottom of the hour to discuss that. Coming up here in a little bit, we'll be speaking with Joel Gilbert. He is a filmmaker, the Trayvon hoax. He did a documentary about George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin, but we're not going to be talking about that case today. We're going to be talking about how the media portrays, in this situation, Ahmaud Arbery. He believes that they've portrayed Ahmaud Arbery in the media to be a saint, and there's new information coming out that, well, he wasn't a saint. Does that excuse what the McMichaels did? Well, in my opinion, absolutely not. But we're going to hear his take on that coming up in hour number 2. Hour number 3, this is going to be very interesting. There are some restaurants in the country that are using blow-up dolls instead of actual people sitting in the seats. The reason why they're doing that, social distancing. I just think instead of taping a table off or not allowing people to sit there, using blow-up dolls is certainly an interesting way of helping to practice social distancing. So Paula Starr will be joining us. She's the owner of a restaurant in South Carolina, and she is using blow-up dolls. So man or woman, that's what I'd like to know. What sex are these blow-up dolls, actually? Stein, can you share that with us? Both. Okay. So they're not okay. Fair enough.
And they're wearing wigs that are been donated by real people. So they look.
That's kind of freaky.
They kind of look real.
That's actually very freaky. So we'll talk to her coming up in hour number 3. Also, Desiree Reed-Francois, why I believe Desiree does not want to be the athletic director at UNLV, and we have a lame duck athletic director. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. More on The Last Dance. Remember, I've been telling you guys all along that this pizza story was a bunch of baloney. It was crap, that Michael Jordan didn't get food poisoning from a pizza. Well, now we're actually hearing from the actual man who delivered that pizza, who agrees with me, and I agree with him. This is a bunch of baloney. So we'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. I want to start with this. We've been talking a lot about Stephen Horsford over the course of the last few days. It made national news. If you're unaware, a woman by the name of Love Jones did a podcast claiming that Stephen Horsford has had extramarital affairs with her over the course of the last decade on and off. Stephen Horsford admitted it. He owned up to it. It made big news because we got the elections coming up right around the corner. This would make news anywhere. And now there are Democrats that are speaking out. We had Dina Titus on the show yesterday, Congresswoman here in Nevada. She really didn't want to say much about it. And to be honest with you, I really like Dina Titus, but I was disappointed with her answer. And now we have Nevada's 2 U.S. senators, who happen to both be Democrats, saying that this extramarital affair is a private matter. Before we get to that, I want to play you a little bit of the audio from this woman, Love Jones, talking about the sex she had with Stephen Horsford. This is one of the sound bites that made national news. Have a listen to this.
Bob and I had an instant connection. He told me pretty early on in the evening that his wife and him had been having marital troubles and were separated. After a few more drinks, we were passionately making out in this lounge. I remember being in shock, like I couldn't believe this married politician was acting this way in public. But I was enjoying myself too much to stop him. He must have come to his senses after some time, because he suggested we all go back to his brother's apartment, which is where he was living at the time. We went back to Bob's brother's apartment and continued to drink and talk. At some point in the evening, him and I ended up in the bedroom and had some of the roughest sex I had had to date. I figured he was just working out some of his life's frustrations, but I would come to know that this was just his style. He liked it rough. I grew to like it too. In fact, I loved it. I became addicted to it.
Wow. Can't pass that health care bill, so I'm going to take out all my frustration on Love Jones and have some rough sex with her. Interesting stuff, anyway, to say the least. And but embarrassing. Embarrassing that this is one of our people, the elected officials in Nevada, and this story comes out. It's not a good situation for Stephen Horsford. It's an embarrassment. Do I think he should resign? Probably not, but it's not cool. And Democrats, listen, just like I criticized Donald Trump for his sexcapades, the human being that he is, you have to do the same thing on both sides of the aisle. I've said it all along. If you're one of those Republicans that has kept quiet when it comes to Donald Trump, but you're all over Stephen Horsford, you have no credibility. I'm going to do the same thing with Democrats. So we have 2 U.S. senators, both Democrats. Jackie Rosen is one of them. Catherine Cortez Mastro is another one. And they were asked about this. They were asked about these extramarital affairs and everything that went on. And the only response they gave is that this is a private matter. I'm sorry, but I have a serious problem with that. I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. They're right. This is a private matter, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't be opinionated and talk a little bit about values. If you are an elected official, I don't care whether you're on the right or the left. I'll tell you what I believe most politicians should say, regardless of whether you're on the right or the left here. What you should say is, you know what? This is an embarrassing situation. Stephen Horsford obviously made a very big mistake. While this is a private matter, we can't have our elected officials having extramarital affairs without their spouses knowing, because then the public will lose trust in them. I think that is a very fair statement to make. But these Democrats that have come forward are cowards. You can't go after Donald Trump. You can't go after his extramarital affairs. You can't talk about the Stormy Daniels situation. You can't talk about any of that stuff. if Horsford, this story comes out, and as a Democrat, your only response is, well, that's a private matter. Again, I have a serious problem with that, and I try to be fair on both sides of the aisle here. I have a problem with Donald Trump, with the things that he's done in regards to attacking women and the extramarital affairs, and this is an embarrassment. Stephen Horsford, you are an embarrassment. The fact that this comes out a couple weeks before the elections tells me one thing, that this was calculated. I don't think Stephen Horsford knew that this was going to happen, but something happened between him and this woman recently, and she did it in spite. There is no other way around this. She talked about these extramarital affairs, and there's a reason why she did it, the timing of it. If she did it 6 months ago or a year ago, I wouldn't be saying that. The fact that it's a couple weeks before the elections tells me one thing and one thing only. This was calculated. She wanted to hurt him. And she started off in these podcasts by saying Bob. We all know who Bob is. She admitted it's Stephen Horsford. And I'm a little surprised that Horsford admitted it, because if you've been lying to your wife over the course of the last decade, why not lie some more and say this never happened? There obviously is some sort of paper trail. She obviously could have proved these extramarital affairs, and to me that's the only reason, most likely, why Horsford admitted this. I can't imagine now what he's going through in his private life with his family and his kids. But folks, this is wrong. And I want leadership. And I want a Democrat out there, whether you're a senator or a mayor, I don't care who you are. I want a Democrat to say this is wrong. It's an embarrassment. Our elected officials should not be cheating on their wives and having sexcapades, in this case, for over a decade. It is embarrassment to the state of Nevada, and these Democrats need to speak out on it.
And I think one of the biggest issues is the fact that, you talk about Donald Trump's extramarital affairs, and you're right. If you called out Trump, you have to call out Horsford in this situation. But Horsford was in office while this was happening. There is a chance that he was spending time and money on this woman instead of spending his time on helping his district, on reaching out to his constituents, on being available to handle any type of issue. He could have been spending, despite the fact that he had a family and 3 kids, he could have spent that time with this woman. And you're right, I think there is a paper trail here. I believe that it's one of those situations where this has been going on for a long time, and she has been extorting him for money for a long time to keep it under wraps. Then he finally said, you know what, I'm not going to do it anymore. Maybe it's because he's broke. Maybe it's because he just doesn't want to keep paying her to keep her mouth shut. But I think there's something like that that's going on with the situation. And you're right, those senators should have said at least something besides, yeah, it's a private matter, because I guarantee you those same senators attacked Donald Trump, towards the 2016 election, and have, since then as well.
But in regards to Donald Trump, here's where I disagree with you. If you recall, he made a $120,000 payment to Stormy Daniels, and all this information came out a week before the elections. So you can't say he's just this private citizen. Obviously, this was in regards to
he was not an elected official at that point.
But here's where
he was running for office, but he was not an elected official.
Just because
Stephen Horsford was an elected official.
So what?
Elected officials.
So we shouldn't criticize Donald Trump?
I'm not saying not criticizing Donald Trump. What I'm saying is Stephen Horsford, instead of doing his job, he could have been spending this time with a woman outside of his marriage.
Well, here's why
it sounds like, now based on what we've talked to Lisa Song-Sutton, Sam Peters, as well as Gabriel Dare, and it sounds like he was kind of an absentee placeholder for the Democratic Party.
So I don't know.
He's not even a resident of the state of Nevada, Brian.
So here's what we know, and I'm not going to do a hypothetical with that because I don't know that. Here's what we do know. Horsford cheated on his wife over the course on and off for 10 years. We also know, pretty much beyond the shadow of a doubt, that Donald Trump had unprotected sex with a porn star just a few months after Melania had his child. They're both equally wrong. I'm not going to play the game of, well, this is worse than that. They're both wrong. They're both irresponsible. We know that Donald Trump has lived his life as a cheater. Okay, he is the king of that. And now we know that Stephen Horsford also has done this over the course of 10 years. I'm not going to play the game of if someone is a Republican or a Democrat, this is worse than that. This person was in office. It could have affected his job. They're both wrong. They both, if you're a religious person, they both committed sin. They're both wrong. Why can't we just call them both out for doing something wrong?
And I would say that Horsford, at this point, there should probably be an investigation into what exactly took place to see if that paper trail is legitimate.
It's not enough time. It doesn't make any sense. There's not enough time. Listen, if we were in January, I would agree with you. The elections are happening in a couple weeks, JD. If you want a thorough investigation, it's not going to do any good.
After the fact.
What do you mean? What do you mean after the fact?
After the fact. After, let's say he wins or loses the election. I believe he's going to lose. But say he wins the election.
I'm not sure he's going to lose. I'm not sure about that. He's well liked by a lot of people.
With the all mail, ballots, there's a chance that he's not going to lose. But I believe he's going to lose. And if he does lose, I think there should be an investigation based on his prior activity after the election takes place.
Well,
I think that is warranted at this point with what's going on.
I haven't seen any evidence yet to show that he used taxpayer funds to help this woman. If that comes out, then I don't have a problem with that. But again, you do an investigation, and there's not going to be anything criminally going on here, I do not believe. You do an investigation to try to find out specifics and the truth. It's going to take a long time to do that. And as you know, the elections are coming up in a few weeks? So I just don't think there's enough time. But listen,
2.5 weeks.
Again, I'm so tired of people on both sides of the aisle playing political games. What's wrong is wrong here. If you lie to your wife over the course of 10 years and you've been cheating on her, it's wrong. If you have unprotected sex with a porn star right a month or two after your wife has a child, it's wrong. Unless you're in some sort of open poly relationship, which there is nothing to the fact to prove that Trump's in one of those or Horsford was in one of those. They both made horrible mistakes and they're wrong. Now, I don't expect a perfect candidate. When I criticize Donald Trump all the time, you want somebody perfect. No, I don't. Is it too much to ask to have elected officials, Republican or Democrat, in office that don't lie constantly and cheat on their wives, that are not womanizers? Is that asking too much? I don't expect a perfect candidate. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. But elected officials are role models, and they represent us. I don't want somebody representing me that's been cheating on his wife for a decade on and off. That's not who I want. I don't want a president representing this country who thinks it's okay to have raw sex with a porn star a couple months after his wife has a child. These are not the people that should be leaders. And that's what they call these people. They call Donald Trump a leader. He's not a leader. They call Stephen Horsford a leader. This isn't a leader. These are scumbags that are liars that lie on their best. And let me ask you this. If elected officials are lying to their best friend, I would assume their best friend would be their spouse, then how can we trust them?
That's one hell of an assumption, Brian.
Okay, well, if you marry somebody and you want to spend the rest of their life with them, I would assume that person is a very special person that is very important in your life. You probably shouldn't lie to them, because if you know what I say, if you're going to lie to your spouse, you're going to lie to the city. You're going to lie to your constituents. And I mean that when it comes to Stephen Horsford, and I mean that when it comes to Donald Trump. Once a liar, always a liar.
Well, and again, I'm not so concerned with what Trump did. Obviously, I don't agree with what he did, but I'm not so concerned with what he did before he was an elected official. I am concerned with what Stephen Horsford did while he was an elected official.
Well, I don't know why you're obsessed with when or when not.
Because that is a big deal.
Okay, well, to me, it's the same. It's the same crime,
and that's fine. But constituents are more concerned with what their elected officials are doing after they were elected than before they were elected. And
well, not me.
And that goes for, well, that's not fine. Me. But I think the majority of constituents think that way. They think like I do.
Okay, but not me.
That's fine.
I don't think that way at all. And I am not going to look at someone because they're a Republican or a Democrat and criticize them less or try to contrast and compare. What Donald Trump has done and the way he's lived his life and what Stephen Horsford has done over the course of the last decade is disgusting. And there's no excuse for it. There simply is no excuse for this type of behavior, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people playing political games.
So why do you think that these Nevada senators are not speaking out?
The same reason why Republicans have not spoken out when that recording came out and Donald Trump said, grab him by the you-know-what. The same reason why Republicans have not spoken out during the Stormy Daniels situation.
But I'm asking you.
It's the same answer.
I'm asking you, why do you think that is?
It's the same answer that I just gave you. The same reason.
You think
it's politics.
You think they're protecting their political party?
Of course they are.
Okay.
What other reason could you possibly come up? Of course they are. It's the same reason why there are so many Republicans out there that call themselves really good Christian people when Donald Trump is the king of the sinners. But they still support him, and it's wrong. And it's just as wrong these two Democratic senators do the exact same thing.
Is or was the king of the sinners, Brian? Is or was?
Well, because what are you asking me specifically?
The situation that you're describing.
I think someone who lies is a sinner.
Okay.
I think someone who disrespects women is a sinner.
Do you lie? Do you disrespect women, Brian?
Do I lie and disrespect women? Have I ever lied in my life? Sure, probably.
Have you ever misled a woman into thinking that you were in a relationship?
Okay, but here's what is ridiculous about what you are doing. I'm just saying. Excuse me. Hold on.
I don't have a problem with it. What I'm saying is Donald Trump.
Hold on. Let me answer your question.
The things that you're saying that Trump did, he did before he was an elected official.
I am not a politician. I never have been, and I never will be. That's number one. Number two. I don't attack women based on looks like Donald Trump does. Remember when Donald Trump went after Nancy Pelosi's teeth? You remember that? I've certainly have never attacked anybody, a woman that I've had to work with. I don't do stuff like that. Now, I don't want to compare myself to Donald Trump. You know why? He's the president of the United States. I'm just a radio host. So it's an unfair analogy or comparison that you're trying to make.
He was not the president of the United States when the things that you are saying took place did take place.
And we've talked about that.
So that totally eliminates your argument.
I don't care. The bottom line is, elected official or not, it's character. It's who you are. And by the way, attacking women, attacking POWs, he's done that when he's been in office. He's attacked women based on looks when he was in office.
And he's been attacked.
That's a character flaw.
He's been attacked by a lot of different
So you're defending
people.
that. Okay.
Well, I mean, he definitely is a counterpuncher. We know that for a fact.
He's a little bit more than a counterpuncher.
When he gets attacked,
he's a little sensitive.
When he gets attacked, he will definitely respond in kind.
Okay.
Everyone in the country is fully aware of that, and no one should be surprised by that. But we're talking about Stormy Daniels having sex with Stormy Daniels unprotected a few months after. Was Barron born, or was she pregnant with Barron?
A few months after she had the child.
Okay, yes. A few months after Barron was born. But he was not an elected official at that particular point.
So what?
And I'm saying people are concerned with what he is doing while he is in office.
You're not speaking for me. I disagree
and that's
with
fine.
you.
And the same thing applies to Stephen Horsford. Because Stephen Horsford was an elected official, and there is a good chance that he was spending a lot of time.
Well, you're making an assumption, and you don't know.
We've had several people say he's been very, very hard to get a hold of.
Several Republicans.
No, we haven't. Gabrielle Dare said the exact same thing.
What does that have to do with him cheating on his wife?
He's just not available.
Okay, so you don't know if that might be he's not very good at his job. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean because he cheated on his wife. That's why he was unavailable. I'm sorry, you're making a correlation
that he was spending time with this woman.
We don't know that.
You don't think he was?
You're making an assumption, and we don't know that.
So you think they had a 10-year affair?
On and off for 10 years,
an on and off 10-year affair where there apparently is a paper trail.
Okay, we don't know that.
To financial things that took place.
We don't know that, and we got to take a break.
To enrich her. Okay.
We got to take a break. Here's what we're going to do. Coming up next, it'll be Doug Basham, liberal talk show host here on KDWN. Petty Trump, as I like to call him. He's fighting with Nancy Pelosi. He's fighting with a reporter yesterday, and now you're not going to believe it comes to something to do with a portrait of Barack Obama. You're not going to believe the decision he made on that. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be discussing all those issues with none other than liberal talk show host Doug Basham. Take a break. Be back right after this. It's the Vegas Take on KDWN.
Every home has a to-do list. That leaky drain, bare spots on the lawn, repainting the trim. To finally get that to-do list done, call in a pro.
All right, so I got
Over the past 20 years, HomeAdvisor has connected over 100 million homeowners with trusted local pros. And during these times, we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the HomeAdvisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer.
Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out homey.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average, and if you're buying a home, you'll save even more. Remember, you still get a 5-star experience with your local Homey agent and an easy-to-use app, all without the crazy commissions. Text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Again, text JD to 88588. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Homey's got your back.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years. I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
I need more stories to come out about Horsford. I need more.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, use my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Here's what you can do. Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream and pay off those credit card balances. You can get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000. The process is all online. You never have to leave the house. And you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 5.95% APR with AutoPay.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate. Thanks, Lightstream.
Apply today at lightstream.com/news and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/news for an additional discount. lightstream.com/news.
Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.5% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/news for more information.
We got a couple minutes.
Special report coronavirus update. Mike Pompeo says China is still not offering transparency on the outbreak of the pandemic. The Secretary of State says China has contributed very little toward world health concerns.
China's contributions to fighting the pandemic are paltry compared to the costs that they have imposed on the world. This plague has cost roughly 90,000 American lives. More than 36 million Americans have lost their jobs since March. Globally, 300,000 lives could be as much as $9 trillion, according to our estimates. Cost imposition on the world by the Chinese Communist Party's failures.
With most nations reopening, President Trump now says he's considering holding the G7 summit at Camp David, which he earlier canceled. 106,000 new coronavirus infections today.
He's got a box of empty
organization
condoms in
says
his garbage
that's
can
the
right now.
highest daily number
Literally
yet in the
50 times.
pandemic. I'm Mike Moss.
Literally 50 times.
Of course.
It's time to check the roads from the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. A nice recovery from this morning's rush hour on I-15. No more delays. An earlier crash 15 north of Speedway. It looks like that has been cleared. On the surface streets, a crash reported Flamingo at Rainbow. Avoid delays, take an alternate like Twain or Tropicana. And hit and run accident investigation.
Don't play whataboutism.
At Sahara. Watch for possible
Well,
slowing.
Stein
Tired of
likes
being
to
trapped
criticize me for
online?
relationships.
DuckDuckGo can help with one download. You can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy
You like that one, buddy?
I think
John
Lisa
Michael's
Song's
from the
son has a
K-Dar.
copy.
Yeah, keep you good.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years. I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. But one day, where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
Good. Yes, you've been with some pigs.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you've been in an
I
accident,
admit
who
it,
do you
I've
call?
said
The
that.
funny lawyer? The angry, aggressive lawyer? The lawyer that your mom's brother's friend's cousin recommends? No, call me instead. I've got the insurance companies who don't want you to call. Really, they really don't. I can help you, and I won't take more money than you at the end of your case. Check it out.
If you're tired of greedy lawyers, call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
You're going to end up alone. Do I look unhappy?
Some restrictions apply.
Warning, this product contains nicotine.
I had a girl cook me
Nicotine
dinner
is an
last
addictive chemical.
What'd you make last week?
Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal,
Matzo ball
we
soup.
all march to the beat of our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views also offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Under Excel.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. K-Dar.
So totally different in real life. I don't know.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. By the way, how does the media portray some African Americans, particularly Ahmaud Arbery, who was gunned down and murdered, I believe? Well, we have Joel Gilbert coming on the show in hour number 2. He's the filmmaker of the Trayvon hoax. He seems to think that the media has portrayed this Ahmaud Arbery as a perfect human being when he claims, no, that's not the case. So we'll get his side of that coming up in hour number 2. But, you know, always love having this guy, and he does a great show on KDWN, 2 to 4 p.m. Oh, yeah. He always raises hell. That is the only liberal talk show host in the state of Nevada.
Which is shocking.
That's right. My friend Doug Basham joining us right now on the line. Doug, good morning, my friend. Thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, Doug?
Well, guys, always good to be with you.
Always a pleasure, Doug, and a lot to get to, a lot to go over. You know, I do want to get right into Trump, but before I do that, what is your reaction to the Stephen Horsford situation? I'm actually calling out some of these Democrats that are not, I guess not being as forthcoming, saying it's a private matter. I think it's an embarrassment. I think Stephen Horsford is an embarrassment, and I don't care whether he's a Democrat or Republican. What do you say to this?
I see your point. I personally think that he should pull a Jimmy Swaggart and go before the cameras and start crying and say, I have sinned, and I'll leave it up to the voters. But the one thing I wanted to mention, I was listening to you and JD in the first half hour. As far as the timing of when something happened, if it's going to be a litmus test on character, it shouldn't matter when it happens. I mean, if you can't trust someone to be true to their significant other when they're out of office, chances are you can't when they're in either.
Couldn't agree with you more, Doug, and that's my point, and that's why JD and I disagree. But I want to get to the Donald Trump stuff,
which we do sometimes.
Yeah, I want to get to
I
want to get right into petty Trump, as I like to call him, because he's been on the attack. Let's start with Nancy Pelosi, Doug. Now, as you know, Nancy Pelosi called him morbidly obese and shouldn't be taking this hydroxychloroquine, and Trump, whether he's morbidly obese or he's just obese, I think Nancy Pelosi was a cheap shot because, as you know, Trump has thrown a lot of cheap shots at her and her looks, so on and so forth. So after she made those comments about him, this is what Donald Trump had to say. Have a listen to this.
Oh, I don't respond to her. I think she's a waste of time. These people are sick. Pelosi is a sick woman. She's got a lot of problems, a lot of mental problems. We're dealing with people that have to get their act together for the good of the country.
All right, so Nancy Pelosi responded to that on MSNBC last night. Have a listen to this.
I didn't know that he would be so sensitive. He's always talking about other people's avoirdupois, their weight, their pounds. But I don't even want to spend any more time on his distraction because, as you see in the last couple of days, so much of the time has been spent on what he said. Rather than that, I think he should recognize that his words weigh a ton. Instead of putting people to put Lysol into their lungs or taking a medication that has not been approved except under certain circumstances, he should be saying what your previous guest mentioned, things that would help people.
Lysol into your lungs. I kind of like that one. Doug, what's your response to that?
Well, I mean, her response is correct. And when you get down to the bottom line, his weight is a distraction. She was only using the same words his physician used. It might have been a cheap shot, but then, what do you do with a guy who is a cheap shot? I mean, sometimes, it doesn't matter how composed a human being you are, there comes a point when it's like, you know what, I'm going to hit this guy with the only kind of weapon he understands, a cheap shot.
No, you're right. And obviously, if anybody comes at him and makes fun of his looks or his fake tan or the fact that he is a little overweight, he goes crazy because he is one of the most
a little overweight,
insecure.
30.4 BMI, according to.
Okay, but that's not the point.
243 pounds.
I understand.
Morbidly obese is 100 pounds overweight or 40 or more BMI.
So we're talking about pounds, but
grossly inaccurate. She also said that since he's overweight, he should not be taking hydroxychloroquine. And last time I checked, she is not a doctor. Neither is Donald Trump. Neither am I. Neither is Brian. Neither is Doug. Mm-hmm. But when Donald Trump mentions the drug, he mentions the fact that he says I'm not a doctor.
Whatever the voices in his head are telling him.
If Donald Trump's not a doctor, then maybe Donald Trump shouldn't be talking about taking a hydroxy. That's my personal opinion on that.
What do you mean talking about it?
Well, he's been promoting it for months now, and it's a joke because there's not enough information.
He actually says he's not a doctor. And Brian, I mean,
why is he talking about it?
Let's be honest. The reason that it was promoted was because it's been around for 70 years.
Not for this specific.
Well, nothing for this, Brian. It's a brand new novel virus.
Nothing to do with it.
There's going to be nothing that's going to be, there'll be evidence that it works for this particular virus.
So obvious, we overlook it. The obvious is in the statement. When Donald Trump says it's been around for 60 years, and then the next day he'll say it's been around for 70 years, people have used it for lupus, people have used it for malaria. That's the point, for malaria and lupus.
And rheumatoid arthritis.
That have COVID-19. And the tests that have been done on people that have COVID-19 shows that it can do more harm than good.
That's not true. In some situations, if you have a heart issue, it can speed up your heart. But there's been tests done all over the world and all over the country. Some are positive, some are negative. And that's the thing, is we don't know what's political, what's real, and what's not.
But JD, in one breath you say he's not a doctor.
He isn't a doctor.
In the next breath you defend him dispensing medical information.
He claimed that he was not a doctor. Nancy Pelosi recommended that. The issue is Nancy Pelosi recommended that Donald Trump not take this medication, but she didn't announce that she wasn't a doctor beforehand. Why is it okay for her to do that, but Donald Trump can't even talk about a drug that he thinks that he thought would work based on what his own doctors told him?
Go ahead, Doug.
It was okay for what Pelosi said was a repetition of what the doctor said. What Trump said is not. And like I said, a lot of his supporters are not the sharpest crayons in the box.
Wait, you don't think that
the poison line was overwhelmed with calls? Gee, can I drink bleach?
He's right about that. There are some people out there throughout the country.
What, in Kansas?
That take every...
Yes, so allegedly, there were a couple of people that called.
Allegedly, they actually had a press conference about it.
Okay, Brian. Again, we don't know if that's real or not.
No, we do know.
We actually don't.
We actually do.
We actually
do. Excuse me. There was a press conference.
Anyways,
no.
Doug,
what are you talking about? We absolutely.
Hey, Brian. I'm talking to Doug today.
Okay, but you're not being factually accurate.
We debated the last half hour.
All right, you said something that's not true. It actually did happen. It's not allegedly. They actually did a press conference. Did you not see it? The doctor actually said this guy tried to drink this crap, and he almost killed himself. He also said that these types of poison situations were up 40% since Donald Trump talked about it. So don't tell me that it's not true. Allegedly, it is true.
Okay, but Doug, what do you mean go? What do you mean go?
Go.
Oh, so now I have the authority to go because you told me that I can talk.
Now that I've proved that you just said something that's not factually
accurate. You didn't prove anything.
Yes,
Brian.
I did.
No, you did not.
Would you like to make a wager?
And you rarely do prove anything.
Oh, really?
Factually accurate is not your game.
So that didn't happen.
Factually accurate is my game. Emotions are your game.
Let me know when you're
that
being Trump defensive again.
Emotions and oversensitivity are Brian Shapiro's game. That being said, Doug, you're telling me that Donald Trump was talking about hydroxychloroquine without any information from the doctors? He was just making that up off the top of his head?
Well, yeah, when he sits there and stands before the cameras and said, it's not going to hurt you, it's not going to hurt you, that is a flat-out lie. And his own VA told him that, and so what's his response? Oh, they're Trump haters, it's a phony report. I mean, that is just unconscionable. And here's the biggest problem. Again, a lot of his base are not the sharpest crayons in the box. You've probably seen the video that went viral of the reporter on Long Island that went to cover a protest, and once they found out he was the media, they started jumping all over him.
I did see that, yeah, I saw that.
And the one guy wouldn't stay 6 feet away from him. When the reporter said, stay 6 feet away from me, the guy said, oh, I'll be fine. I take hydroxychloroquine.
It's pretty idiotic. It's pretty idiotic.
Okay, well, Donald Trump has taken it as a prophylactic, the same way that this guy was talking about, due to the advice or based on the recommendation of his doctors. And I would imagine that his doctors are pretty good.
That's also not true. That's a lie. Hold on a second. You just said something that's not true.
How is it not true?
Because Donald Trump, let me explain. Donald Trump did a press conference 2 days ago.
Yes.
And in that press conference, he said the doctors did not recommend it to him. He specifically said that he's the one that brought it up. It wasn't that the doctors brought it up and said, hey, Mr. President, you should take that. Donald Trump admitted that. Again, what you're saying is not factually accurate.
If that's the case, then Donald Trump is going to get hydroxychloroquine, and he's going to die because he's overweight and, he has a heart problem.
I didn't say that.
And Doug can be happy, and Brian can be happy,
well, that's a stupid thing for you to say.
And Nancy Pelosi and Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper, they can all be extremely happy. They can have a giant celebration. It can be.
Let me know when you're done making your stupid comments.
It could be a Zoom call party. It could be a beautiful Zoom call party for yesterday.
Let me know when you're done with your stupid rant.
No, that's not
a stupid thing to say. That I want Donald Trump to die. Don't be an idiot.
He has taken it as a prophylactic, Brian.
And what is the proof that it works as a prophylactic? Do you have any evidence?
Yes.
What's the evidence? What is it?
Doctors are saying that it works as a prophylactic.
What doctors?
A lot of doctors out there.
Who?
I don't know the actual names. I know a lot of doctors out there saying that.
Well, you and Donald Trump have something in common because Donald Trump.
So you think that Donald Trump is just taking this
No, here's what I think.
On his own volition?
First of
you
all,
think the President of the United States is taking a drug that he has not been recommended to take this drug?
Would you like me to respond? You asked me a question.
That is one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my life.
I'll tell you what's crazy.
A guy that's overweight, a guy that's 243 pounds, who has a heart problem, is taking a drug without doctor's permission that could kill him?
Are you done with your rant?
The President of the United States is taking a drug that can kill him, and you don't think the doctors have told him to take that drug, Brian?
Okay.
How could you possibly have that thought process?
Go ahead, Doug. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Hold on a second, JD.
There's no proof he's taking it.
JD, give me 20 seconds to your 30 minutes, please. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, first of all, when Donald Trump talked about possibly injecting yourself with disinfectants, that's what I call idiotic. When Donald Trump goes up there in a press conference, excuse me. When Donald Trump talks about taking hydroxy, when there is absolutely not enough evidence to support the fact that it works to prevent the coronavirus, that's what I call crazy and idiotic, Now, if you want to go on your high horse and say, me and Doug want Donald Trump to die, that is an idiotic and an ignorant statement for you to make. I have never said that before in my life, and I never will. So you are 100% wrong in making that
what I'm saying is, if he is taking this,
that's what you said.
If he's taking this drug and he's high risk because he's overweight,
that's not the point.
He's not healthy, and he has a heart issue, then he's going to die. As the great Neil Cavuto said, you will die if you take this drug.
Okay, I don't know why you're bringing that up.
Well, because I'm saying Donald Trump, the President of the United States, would never be taking this drug unless he had the advice of doctors to do it. He would never do it by himself, Brian. If you actually think that, you are completely insane. No, that's what you're saying. And Doug, why do I think that he's actually taking the drug? Because his valet came down with the virus. Mike Pence's staffer came down with the virus. Mike Pence hasn't been seen in a couple of weeks. I think that Donald Trump has been around with a couple of people that in the White House that have the virus, and so he's taking this to prevent himself from getting it. He's also 73 years old, so I'm 72 years old, so he is in that high risk group. And yes, he is obese. He is not morbidly obese, but he is obese. So yes, I do believe that he's taking that drug, Doug. And it's not like he has a major financial interest in the drug, anyways.
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, you can believe that he's taking it, and I'm not saying he isn't. And personally, I don't care whether he is or not. In fact, I kind of hope he is. The point is. The point is he says things that he shouldn't say. And as far as, to get back to the question of whether or not he is taking it, whenever Donald Trump says something, if you've been paying attention for the past 3 years, your default position and reaction should be that he's lying. If you look at the doctor's note that he had the guy write that took 3 hours before they released it, he never confirmed that Trump was taking it. He said they had a conversation and they decided that the risks were less than the potential benefit. That's all he said.
Not only that, Doug.
Or that he prescribed.
Not only that, but in that.
I'm not even sure he's
right.
taking it. But again, I don't care whether he is or not.
Right.
What I care about is that people listen to what he says and they don't hear, I'm not a doctor.
Exactly.
Cult members don't care.
I agree.
What the leader says is gospel, whether he's a doctor or not.
Yep.
When you have people confronting people on the street, members of the press, and not respecting the social distancing guidelines and say, oh, it's okay, I take hydroxychloroquine.
No,
That's just wrong.
You're right. I agree with you, and you made those two very important points in that note that conveniently came out 3 hours after what Donald Trump said, and many sources say that many in his administration were shocked, shell-shocked, they had no idea. In that note, doctor didn't say that he prescribed it to Donald Trump, and never said that Donald Trump was taking the medication. But I want to move on now.
You think you think that Donald Trump is not actually taking this drug? You don't think that he was recommended to take this drug, and he is just telling the American public, despite the fact that it can kill them, according to a couple of studies, to take the drug because he wants to kill a bunch of Americans and lose the election?
I think we've all.
Brian, people in his administration have the virus. So I do believe that he is taking this drug as a prophylactic.
I don't want to do more than 15 minutes on this.
And if he is taking the drug as a prophylactic, I believe that his personal doctor told him to take that drug.
That's actually
because he is the president of the United States.
Obviously not listening to his press conferences.
If it's not factually accurate, then you're saying that he just took the drug because of something he heard from someone else.
I'm going to repeat this.
That wasn't a doctor.
I'm going to repeat this.
There's no way the president of the United States would even be allowed to do that.
Okay, I'm going to repeat this one more time, and then we're going to move on because you clearly don't know what Donald Trump said in the press conference 2 days ago. What Donald Trump said was he was asked about it, and he said the doctor did not tell him to take the drug. The doctor is not the one that brought this up. It was Trump that brought it up. It wasn't the doctor that recommended he take it. That is Donald Trump's own words. What you're saying is not factually accurate. But I want to move on now because this is something that Donald Trump does on a regular basis, attacks reporters. And I want to know if JD can defend this, because this is Donald Trump shutting down CBS's very own Paula Reed, who asked about the plan to get people back to work. I want to know if you think this question is inappropriate, and listen to Donald Trump's response. Have a listen to this.
Mr. President, why haven't you announced a plan to get 36 million unemployed Americans back to work? You're overseeing historic economic despair. What's the delay? Where's the plan?
I think we've announced a plan. We're opening up our country. Just a rude person you are. We're opening up our country. We're opening it up very fast. The plan is that each state is opening, and it's opening up very effectively. And when you see the numbers, I think even you will be impressed, which is pretty hard to impress you. Yeah, go ahead, please.
A lot of these jobs are not coming back.
Brian, so, Doug, what is your response to that? And then I'll ask JD. Doug, did you think that that was rude of her to ask that question?
Oh, of course not. I mean, it was a perfectly legitimate question, and all these questions that Trump's base labels as gotcha questions are the exact kind of questions our founding fathers told the press to ask.
JD?
That was a very short, succinct answer, Doug. I appreciate that. No, it wasn't a rude question. It was a dumb question. It was a stupid question because Donald Trump doesn't have that authority. The governors of each state have that authority as to when they're going to open up. And the 36 million that are unemployed are spread across the 50 states in the United States.
Doug, would you agree with that assessment?
How can you not?
The president doesn't have the authority?
I mean, I've said before, this is a national crisis. It requires a national response. And Donald Trump has provided absolutely zero national leadership or guidance.
No,
he wants full authority. He wants full power. And yet when it comes down to actually exercising it, he blows it off to the governors and says, okay, it's up to you.
You know, I can tell you that is not factually accurate. A month, and now that we're using factually accurate 55 times a show, but a month ago, Donald Trump made a statement that he is going. He made a statement that he has the all power. Every decision that is made goes through him, and a bunch of governors pushed back. Cuomo was one of them, and said, "No, that's not the case. The states have their authority." And in this situation, they do have federal guidelines to open up in phases, but the governors themselves are making those decisions as to when to reopen the economy. There's nothing Donald Trump can do about that.
We're not talking about that.
No, of course you are.
No, we're not.
Yeah. How are you not talking about that? You're talking about 36 million unemployed.
We're talking about...
You get them employed by opening the economy.
We're talking about... Okay, we're not talking about reopening. That specific question was giving us a guideline or a plan for all the people that are unemployed to help get this economy going. So when we do open up, when we do open up, Mr. President, what are some of your plans to revitalize this economy? That is the question that she asked.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, that is...
No, she did not.
Doug, am I wrong on that?
She did not ask that question.
Am I misinterpreting?
You are spinning
let me ask Doug.
that question.
Let me ask Doug. Doug, am I misinterpreting what she was asking?
No, not at all.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
If you like it short and succinct, there it is.
I like that.
Not wrong at all.
I appreciate that, actually.
All right, so I want to talk to you about something that I think is another disgraceful behavior by the President of the United States. As you know, it's been a White House... Yeah, it's been a White House tradition for decades. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but for at least 40 years, a first-term president hosts a ceremony in the East Room for the unveiling of the official portrait of his immediate predecessor that will hang in the halls of the White House. So Republican presidents have done it for Democratic presidents and vice versa. They've done it for years, but President Trump and his administration have announced they will not be doing it for President Barack Obama. Doug, your thoughts on that?
I mean, the pettiness of this man knows no limits. And the ironic thing is, he is so bad that even Obama, who can get along with anybody, he doesn't want any part in it either.
Yeah, what does that tell you? JD, your thoughts on this? This has been going on for 40 years. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he should do it, in my opinion. I think that he should do this.
Why do you think he's not doing it?
Why do I think he's not doing it? Because he thinks that Barack Obama was spying on him and then there wasn't a peaceful transfer of power. Now, until that's proven, he should do that. Now, once that's proven, then I think he has the right to take it down. But until that takes place, then he should do it.
What exactly is Obama?
Because I do believe in tradition in that regard.
Doug, why do you think he's not doing it?
Oh, the same reason his whole presidency has existed, to erase everything Barack Obama did and then replace it with something very similar, only with Trump's name on it. Mm-hmm. Trump is just horrifically embarrassed and ashamed deep down that he knows he will never be a fraction of the man Obama was, nor will he ever be admired as much as Obama is.
That's not even remotely true at all.
Popular man in the United States. It's the most popular man in the world. Donald Trump isn't the most popular man within his own family.
That's actually true. That's a very good point there. So what do you make of this now? Obviously Donald Trump seems to be obsessed with Barack Obama. Why is it you think that is the case? Do you think it's more envy and jealousy that Barack Obama did not have a dad that just gave him a $400 million company? Do you think it's one of those situations where, Barack Obama didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth his entire life, that he had to work hard to get to where he was at? Maybe it's Barack Obama's looks. Maybe it's the fact that Obama has a lovely family and only one wife that he's been dedicated to, or maybe all the above. Doug, what do you think it is?
I know. What's the hate, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, when you compare the two men, there is no comparison. And he is just tremendously jealous of Obama and hates him. And I think a lot of it goes back to that correspondence dinner when Obama made jokes about Trump. I mean, he made jokes about a lot of people, but it was Trump who took them to heart.
I agree. I could not agree with you more. Just the look on Donald Trump's face when Obama was making those jokes, that says it all. Doug, we only got about a minute to go here, so I wanted to ask you a little bit. Give me a little bit of preview. Your show on Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m. on KDWN, which I listen to every single week. What do you got going this Saturday, Doug? What are you going to be discussing?
Well, I'm not really sure, because every time I think I have my show mapped up for the week, the next day happens and I have to change it.
That's true.
I mean, that's the one thing that bothers me the most about this Trump administration. There are times that by the end of Sunday night, I say, okay, I've got enough stuff to cover this week. And then the rest of the week happens, and the stuff that was really important on Sunday and Monday is old news, and it's less than a week old.
That's a good point. It's a very valid point. Trump, the gift that keeps on giving. He's kind of like herpes. But, Doug, I will say this. No matter what you discuss on Saturday, I know you will be raising a little hell. You're always very good at that. Doug Basham, you do a great job. Glad you're a part of KDWN. Keep up the great work, my friend, and we will catch up with you next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Doug.
Guys, always appreciate it.
All right, there you go. It's Doug Basham. I love Doug. He is a character. By the way, the best hair in radio, too, by the way. I want to add that in there. Certainly, I probably have the worst. But, all right, this is an interesting topic. Coming up next, we're gonna switch it up a little bit here. This is very, very – it's interesting for a lot of different reasons. We all know it's something that we consistently have agreed on in this show, myself and JD, is the Ahmaud Arbery case, right? I mean, obviously it was a murder, and we hope that these two McMichaels, go to jail for a very, very long time. But with that being said, there's new video that is surfacing, and it doesn't portray Arbery to be the great kid that his parents say he was. I'll explain what that means coming up next. And the guest that we have on, his name is Joel Gilbert. He's been on our show before. He is the filmmaker of the Trayvon hoax. So he is someone who believes that the way they have portrayed Arbery, very similar in the media for the way they portrayed Trayvon Martin. So we're going to talk to Joel Gilbert coming up next about that. Controversial guy, interesting guy. I don't always agree with his takes. I still think that Arbery was murdered in broad daylight. But I do not believe now that Arbery was just jogging down the street. I don't believe that at all. We have a new surfacing of Arbery shoplifting. We have a new video surfacing of Arbery getting into it with police in a park. So what does that mean? Does it mean anything when it comes to this case? We'll explain that coming up next. It's the Vegas Take right here on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, taking Nevadans to Capitol Hill for the latest on the federal issues that matter most to you.
Eye on Washington, Saturday morning at 9:30 on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
V is for victory, except on Saturdays when V is for veterans. That's Veterans Talk, The Forgotten Promise. Join us every Saturday from noon to 1.
Veterans Talk every Saturday at noon on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, use my card.
And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Here's what you can do. Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream and pay off those credit card balances. You can get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000. The process is all online. You never have to leave the house, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 5.95% APR with AutoPay.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate. Thanks, Lightstream.
Apply today at lightstream.com/news and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/news for an additional discount. Lightstream.com/news.
Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.5% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/news for more information.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Take get $1,000 in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 free months of home security. Call me, 702-902-3029, the GCI guys.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. The U.S. continues to accuse China and the World Health Organization of cooperating in withholding vital information from the world about the coronavirus. But Secretary of State Mike Pompeo offered no new evidence behind the charge.
The Chinese Communist Party's response to the COVID-19 outbreak in Wuhan have accelerated our more realistic understanding of Communist China. The party chose to destroy live virus samples instead of sharing them or asking us to help secure them.
The CDC has quietly posted reopening guidance online. Here's correspondent Rosa Flores.
The CDC releasing detailed guidelines on how to safely reopen the country amid reports of tension between the agency and the White House, and all 50 states at least partially easing social distancing measures.
The World Bank today says the pandemic could throw an additional 60 million people into poverty. I'm Mike Moss. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says testing in his state has found higher rates of infection among the general public than among frontline workers, including doctors, nurses, police, and fire.
In lower-income communities, communities of color, we partnered with the faith-based community, with churches, to conduct tests. We found about 27% of the individuals testing positive. 27%, that's compared to the New York City general population of about 19%.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo denies he recommended firing the State Department's independent watchdog in retaliation for investigations into Pompeo's conduct as America's top diplomat. But Pompeo again declined to provide a specific reason for why Steve Linick was dismissed as Inspector General. The Dow is down or up 300. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads
from the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
Watch for slowing for the crash reported Torrey Pines at Windmill Lane. Take an alternate like Arville or Rainbow and avoid the slow and go. Also a crash at Fort Apache north of Russell Road and an accident reported Boulder Highway at Sahara. There you could use Eastern or Sand Hill instead. And one more, it's a crash on MLK northbound at Bonanza. Avoid delays, take an alternate like Rancho or even I-15. Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers all for free. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Get the rest you deserve with Helix Sleep. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out homie.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homie's got your back.
These are worrisome times, causing a lot of stress and concern, and being in debt to the IRS can certainly make matters worse. Thankfully, there's good news. Optima Tax Relief can help you resolve your tax debt over the phone and online. Don't go it alone. Optima's tax professionals can reduce the stress in your life by helping resolve your IRS problems right from the comfort of your own home. Optima is America's most trusted tax resolution firm, having resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. And their award-winning team is ready to help you online and over the phone, even during these uncertain times. They'll stand between you and the IRS and fight to get you the best deal possible. All it takes is one call to start the process. Optima's tax associates are standing by. Take the first step toward putting your tax problems to rest. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-709-6011. That's 800-709-6011. 800-709-6011.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Las Vegans are starting to leave their homes and get back to work. A sterilized business is more important than ever. Disinfecting Solution offers professional disinfecting and sterilization services for homes and establishments. For the next 30 days, they're offering Las Vegas businesses peace of mind for 10 cents a square foot. That is to ensure the health and safety of you, your staff, customers. Disinfecting Solution uses only hospital-grade products, killing 99.9% of all germs, including COVID-19. 866-800-7768 or disinfectingsolution.com.
1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Wednesday. So it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's a horrible story of a 25-year-old young man who, in my personal opinion, was murdered, chased down by two white men with guns. And whether he was jogging or not, or whether he was looking through a house that was under construction or not, to me is not the point. I still think murder is murder. But with that being said, going back to the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman situation, there are a lot of people that believe that Trayvon Martin was painted out to be the perfect kid who had never done anything wrong and a great student, and we learned later on that that was not the case. Does that mean that it was justified that he was killed? No, I don't think so. But the media does portray certain situations and certain people as saints when they're not. There's a new video that just came out in the Ahmaud Arbery case. Now, we've learned that he took a gun to school. He was arrested for that. And now we're learning of a shoplifting situation. Now, does that justify what the McMichaels did? In no way, shape, or form. That's for you to decide. I don't believe so. But in this new video that I want you to listen to, this is Ahmaud Arbery caught shoplifting. It's an arrest back in 2017 as he was accused of friends. That's hard to put in your pocket. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that. I think for starters, we could say that this Ahmaud Arbery kid, sadly, I know he's 6 feet underneath the ground now. It's terrible. Was not a very bright kid, but I want you to listen to this audio.
He does not sound overly.
I want you to listen to this audio.
Or he was very ambitious. Maybe he was just too ambitious.
This is back in 2017, his arrest. Have a listen to this.
Your TV is in there. I had a receipt, bro. Where's the receipt at?
Stay seated.
I got money,
You know what?
bro.
You know what?
I'm not a bro.
I want you to lay on your stomach. Lay on your stomach.
I'm not laying
Lay on your stomach. Lay on your stomach. You're under arrest. You're under arrest for shoplifting. Yeah, you have the right to.
I did not steal no TV, bro.
All right. First of all, the guy doesn't know how to speak English. That's number one. And number two, he's aggressive with police officers. This isn't the first time.
Bro is a word.
This isn't the first time he was aggressive. Number three, there was no receipt. That was a blatant lie. And I like it how the owner of the store is saying, by the way, I'm not a bro. You can hear him say that in the background. But listen, he's been aggressive before. So the person I wanted to have with us on the line right now, his name is Joel Gilbert. He is the filmmaker of the Trayvon hoax, which is now offered free on YouTube, by the way, for people to check that out. And he has some opinions on how some people are portrayed in the media. So I want to get his take on that. Joel, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Joel? Been a while.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. All right, so Joel, in your documentary, I don't really want to talk about the Zimmerman case, but in your documentary, you make the case that Trayvon Martin was considered this great kid who did great in school, and then when you actually look at his record and getting kicked out of school and so forth, the media certainly portrayed him a different light. So I want to talk to you specifically about this Ahmaud Arbery case. Do you think there are some similarities there? What are your thoughts?
Okay. So look, with the Arbery case, all the facts are not known yet. Every day stuff comes out. We haven't heard from the defendants either, so I'm trying to stay open-minded. I think that, as you said, that's kind of the lesson that we learned from the Trayvon Martin case or even the Michael Brown case, where the media comes up with a slogan or a narrative, Skittles and iced tea or hands up, don't shoot. In this case, it was jogging while black. And then what happens is eventually when it gets to court, we find out, there's an investigation, there were false claims, false witnesses in the case of the Trayvon Martin case, and false narratives. And I don't think creating a hoax or false stories advances the cause of civil rights. I think it sets it back. So I want to be open-minded and not prejudge this case. I can tell you there are a lot of similarities, which I can go through, which are pretty interesting. First of all, the media circulated an angelic photo of Arbery when he was in high school with a tuxedo, rather than a recent mugshot, for example, where they did the same thing in the Trayvon Martin case. He was 17, 6'3". They circulated a 5-foot-tall, 12-year-old kid, really cute kid, in order to create this false narrative. Another narrative is they say, why was there no arrest? As if there was no investigation, as if an arrest is a constitutional right. In fact, you only have an arrest if there's probable cause. And the DA, Barnhill, from this place in Georgia, issued a letter with a thorough investigation. He went through the thing piece by piece. That's why there was no arrest for several months. He said that Arbery attacked and tried to take the gun away from McMichael, and that there was a struggle over the weapon while Arbery was beating him, and he had the right to use deadly force. So the same thing in the Zimmerman case. The Sanford police did a 3-week investigation and exonerated Zimmerman, and it was only when the media narrative blew up that the politicians...
Joel, can I I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to, before I forget, I want to interject here. See, I disagree with what you just said in this aspect. I think these two cases are very different when it comes to this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Okay. Can you hear me okay now, Joel? You got me? Great. Okay. So I was just going to say, listen, in the George Zimmerman situation, he wasn't chasing after Trayvon Martin in a car, and he also didn't have his weapon brandished. See, I think that is a huge difference in this case. And you're right, by the way. We don't have all the evidence, but based on just the video alone, what we know from Zimmerman is he had the gun, it wasn't seen by Trayvon Martin. Very different. With the McMichaels, they were chasing this kid down in a truck, and I'm just going by the video, and then they had their guns brandished. So I think that is a very, very big difference in this case.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences. It's a little bit more like the Michael Brown case where somebody had a weapon, a police officer, known to have a weapon. And if you look at that video, the McMichaels are parked in their truck ahead of Arbery. They're no longer chasing him. And the DA cites that in his letter exonerating the McMichaels. He said Arbery approaches the truck from behind, goes to the right of the truck, and rather than just continuing straight, he suddenly turns 90 degrees and attacks McMichael and tries to take his weapon. So there's some similarities in the Michael Brown case. Like, why would you go after someone with a weapon?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to come out in court eventually, but what happens is these narratives are created by the media, typically in an election year, to motivate black voters, and that's the manipulation that takes place. I can assure you there are justifiable homicides all over the country that are ruled self-defense every month.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's black on black, sometimes white on white, sometimes white on black, and we only hear about these and they blow them up with these false narratives typically right before an election.
So, Joel, let me ask you this. Arbery was apparently took a gun to school when he was in high school. He also shoplifted tried to get a 65-inch TV, wheeling it out of a store. I don't know how you do that and get away with it. Should that matter? Does that matter to this case?
I don't think so. What matters, for example, I spoke to the forewoman of the Zimmerman jury, and she said it came down to when Zimmerman was having his head beat in the ground for a couple of minutes and choking on the blood from his broken nose, was he afraid for his life when he fired the single shot? And they found him not guilty based on that. I think this will also come down to a similar thing. The jury will say, when McMichael was standing there and Arbery approached him and tried to take his weapon away and punched him in the face, was he justified in trying to protect his life? I think that's what it'll come down to, not what Arbery did 5 years ago.
Now, what about the fact that these two gentlemen pursued Ahmaud Arbery in a vehicle while he was on foot for...
I can't hear you. Sorry, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Joel?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, what about the fact that these two gentlemen pursued Ahmaud Arbery for 4 minutes in a truck while he was on foot with weapons brandished, despite the fact that they were not police officers? Now, there is a text message that Gregory McMichael had from one of his friends who basically told him that he could make a citizen's arrest. But again, he was not a police officer at the time. How does that factor in?
It's going to factor in. I mean, I think those things all come into it. We're kind of learning more every day. But what I'm saying is I think some of these narratives, jogging while black, they hunted him down. I mean, even LeBron James, I wrote an article about this. LeBron James tweeted, "Can't go for a damn jog. We're literally hunted down every day." Now, that is just outrageous.
I agree.
It's true. This doesn't happen every day. That's why it's so shocking to everybody. And LeBron James did the same thing in the Trayvon Martin case. He got played by the media narrative. And played means, in the Urban Dictionary, it means made a fool of.
Yeah.
And he made a fool of himself defending China also.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with you there. I just want to say, Joel, for the record, we covered that last week, and I was very critical of LeBron James' comments. I thought his comments were idiotic, and he has a huge platform, and he shouldn't be saying that African Americans are hunted down every time they leave their house, because it's just ignorant.
Well,
That's what it is.
I thought they were actually dangerous.
Yeah, they can be dangerous. So, Joel, I'm with you on that, but let's talk a little bit about this Arbery case a little bit more. So let's just assume, for hypothetical reasons, that Arbery was committing a crime. By the way, there's no evidence to support the fact he was. But even if he was committing a crime, does that give two people the right that are not police officers to chase somebody in a car with guns brandished, even if Arbery started the physical confrontation? And it does appear like he did. I don't think that still means that McMichaels are innocent here. Now, does that mean they should both be convicted of first-degree murder? Probably not. And I've said on the record, and listen, I'm going to be honest here, I think Zimmerman could have been charged and could have been convicted with involuntary manslaughter. I think they went for too much, and that's why Zimmerman was not convicted. I believe in this case, I think it's going to be very difficult to convict the McMichaels of murder. However, if they're not chasing this kid down with guns brandished in a truck, it never happens. Just like with Zimmerman. If he doesn't get out of his car, if he stays in his car, that confrontation never happens. I believe you can get the McMichaels on either manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter based on the evidence that we do know right now. What do you say?
I'm not an expert in the law. I only read the DA Barnhill wrote this 5-point letter, and that's part of my main point is it was thoroughly investigated, and a legal opinion was delivered by the local authorities, as opposed to the media narrative which says they screwed up the investigation, they're trying to protect him, they didn't arrest him. That's not true. There was a thorough investigation, and I can only tell you what the DA said. He went through it point by point, and he said, it's online, he said they had probable cause to believe he committed a crime, they had a right to make a citizen's arrest, they had a right to open carry in the state of Georgia. So far, the law seems to be on their side. It sounds kind of shocking to me. I never saw someone commit a crime and track them down with my gun. I mean, it's a pretty shocking thing. But legally, it seems like the DA said they were on solid ground. But I still think it'll end up being when Arbery took a sharp left turn in front of the truck and attacked McMichael and tried to take his gun, was McMichael in fear of his life? And that's essentially the Zimmerman case also came down to that one single moment when he was getting his head beat in the ground and choking on his blood and being smothered. when he fired the shot was
Sure,
legitimate.
and that's fair, but one thing George Zimmerman did not do was block Trayvon Martin from walking down the sidewalk. What the McMichaels did do, based on the video, is they blocked him in the middle of the road and tried to stop him. My understanding on the law is that this kid Arbery had no reason to listen to these two guys, and he could have just kept going. Now, you make a valid point with going 90 degrees, but with that being said, the McMichaels blocked him right in the middle of the road. I think that's also an important part to this case as well. I mean, I think we're going to learn a lot more. I think you're absolutely right, Joel. We don't know everything in this case, but I think what we do know, and I find it hard to believe that police officers and law enforcement would say, you know what, make a citizen's arrest and chase somebody down with guns. Here's the second thing I would mention, and I think this is very important, Joel, and you're a smart guy. I think you'll understand this. As you know, McMichael Sr. had a lot of ties and a lot of friends in law enforcement. I think it would be naive to say that his ties in law enforcement had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they were not arrested that night.
Well, we can only go by the DA letter and the facts that have come out every day. Things kind of change a little bit in the video, and I just don't know. It's going to come out in the court trial, but I think this jogging while black, he was just a jogger and was gunned down in cold blood, is not going to end up being the reality.
Well, no doubt it's a fluid situation, but when this took place, police officers actually went to Ahmaud Arbery's home and told his mother that he was involved in a home invasion, and that was just not the case. In fact, that story was corroborated up the Brunswick Police Department. What are your thoughts on that?
You're breaking up a bit. Can you just say it one more time?
Go ahead, JD.
No, I said this is definitely a fluid situation, no doubt, with information coming out every single day. But that same day that he was murdered, the police department actually went to his mother's house and told her that he was involved in a home invasion, and that was not the case. And this story was corroborated up the Brunswick, Georgia Police Department. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are I never heard that before. So these things over time we're inundated with the media narrative. We're inundated with the attorney for the family, just like Benjamin Crump would make these incendiary statements. The media simply repeats what the attorney for Arbery's family says, and we don't know if that's true. And then now we're told, well, the police said this to the mother. The mother said he was jogging. All these things get put out in the public, and then we form in our minds what happened. And only months or a year or so later, things turn out to be different. So that's what I caution with the Trayvon hoax is don't let the media prejudge it for you, because more and more things keep coming out. We haven't heard from the defendants. I heard, for example, that the defendants actually released the video thinking it would exonerate them,
right?
Which the DA agreed. So there's a lot to learn, and I think, as I showed in the Trayvon hoax, it took 8 years till I found out that the key witness, Rachel Gentile, was a fraud. She wasn't on the phone with Martin. She wasn't the girlfriend. It was a frame job. So we're going to find out more as time goes on.
But and you mentioned that video, how Gregor McMichael ordered it to be released. He actually didn't take the video. William Roddy took the video, and he made a statement that he released the video. Didn't mention McMichael's name, but he did it because he wanted to stop a race war. So that's very interesting as well.
I want to bring this up because I think this is important. And Joel, you might disagree with me on this, but that's fine. To me,
I lost you guys again.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, Joel, you got me.
Got you now.
Okay, so you might disagree with me on this, Joel, but to me, it's very simple, and I hate to compare it to George Zimmerman. If Zimmerman doesn't get out of his car, that confrontation never happens. If the McMichaels are not following this kid in their truck, this confrontation never happens, and you have two men that are still alive today. Now, am I putting 100% of it on George Zimmerman? No, I never have. I defended George Zimmerman for pulling the trigger. What I didn't defend George Zimmerman is following him and not staying in his car. When you're not a police officer, you shouldn't be following somebody, whether it's chasing somebody in a truck with guns or following somebody on foot. Number one, it's dangerous. Number two, you're not law enforcement and you're not trained. George Zimmerman should have never gotten out of that car. Number one, the McMichaels should have never been chasing this kid in a truck. If those two things don't happen, then these two men are still alive today.
Well, I can tell you that hundreds of thousands of times every day, people, if they see somebody in the neighborhood, and they're actually on the phone with the police, they try to be maybe overly helpful and say, oh, I see him over there. Let me tell you where he went. While you could say, well, we wish they weren't trying to be overly helpful, 100,000 times a day that happens. but Trayvon circled back and mercilessly attacked and beat Zimmerman within an inch of his life. Arbery, even though he was followed, or they thought he was committing a crime, as much as that complicated it, made the situation worse. Arbery, according to the video.
Did we lose Joel? Joel, are you there? I think we lost Joel. Maybe we could get Joel back on the line.
And trying to steal their gun or beat them to death is probably the worst thing and shouldn't have happened. I mean, Trayvon Martin, if he didn't like Zimmerman or got mad at him for snitching on him, smoking pot, he could have cursed him out. He could have come up and pushed him. He could have done a lot of things, but attacking the guy and jumping on him and beating his head in the ground was a mistake that unfortunately cost.
But Joel, I agree. But Joel, I don't think you can find even 100 cases per day, or even per week, of two people in a truck chasing down somebody with guns. Now, you're right. The George Zimmerman case is different. I'm sure there's a lot of people,
especially in a state or in a town with a history of systemic racism.
Yeah. Zimmerman aside, let's forget about that for a second. You make a valid point there, but with the McMichael case, I don't think you can find many cases throughout the country where two men in a truck, both armed with their guns brandished, are chasing after a human being. I just don't think that specific scenario happens very often in this country.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty rare. If you figure I read, again, we hear different things every day, but I read they were yelling at him to stop. They want to talk to him, and they had the police on the phone. They were trying to get the police to come and talk to him or arrest him, even for a crime that they supposedly witnessed, which I don't know too much about either. And, you can just see in the video that Arbery went to the right of the truck and could have kept running. And I'm sure, had he not taken a sharp left and tried to take the guy's gun away, that there would have been no shots fired. But everyone is very unhappy. I'm sure the McMichaels wish they hadn't done it, and it is extremely rare for people to track down someone they think that is committing a crime and try to hold them for the police. I don't know anyone that's ever done that.
Yeah, me either. Well, let's say he did keep running, or that he would have kept running. I think they would have kept chasing him. It would have lasted longer than 4 minutes. Why would they have stopped chasing him at that point if he would have just kept running? But my real question is, are you looking at this potentially as another documentary for you to do?
I'm not. I'm thinking of it. Look, we got to see what really happened and get a lot more information. But I do see it as another, what I coined the term Trayvon hoax, where the media runs with all these narratives. Jogging while black, LeBron James is in on it, Benjamin Crump is in on it. And they try to create this narrative to motivate black voters to come out and vote Democrat. And I see that as a parallel.
Fair enough. Well, Joel, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us about this. Certainly, I appreciated your film, The Trayvon Hoax. And again, you can see it free on YouTube. I highly recommend it. I've seen it a couple times. Joel, you're a very good filmmaker, great documentary, and we appreciate you taking some time to join us and giving us your perspective. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, and you can get to that film by going to the TrayvonHoax.com. It's linked up there.
Great. Thanks, Joel. We appreciate your time. That's Joel Gilbert, filmmaker of The Trayvon Hoax. Look, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, and I think this is where me and Joel fundamentally disagree. If these two idiots did not chase Ahmaud Arbery, this would have never happened. If I have or you have two men pointing guns at you, yelling at you, we all react differently. Do I wish that Ahmaud Arbery didn't go for the gun and attack? Yes, he probably would still be alive. But with that being said, can we really blame him for doing that? The kid was scared. All due respect to him and his family, he didn't seem like the brightest bulb in the world based on the way he interacted with police officers. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say that. He lunged at a police officer in a park. He tries to steal a 65-inch TV with his 15-year-old friends and tries to wheel it out of the store. Did he deserve to die? Absolutely not. That is not what I am saying here. But again, he doesn't seem like he was a very intelligent person. Now, if people want to disagree with me on that, that's fine. We'll take some phone calls on the other side of the break. But the bottom line here is this. These McMichaels made a very big mistake. So did George Zimmerman. The McMichaels decided to take the law into their own hands. They're not police officers. They decided to brandish guns and chase after this kid, not even knowing exactly what this kid did wrong. And what did they think they did? Worst case scenario, he was in a construction site in a house moseying around, and there's no evidence that he stole anything or he committed any serious crime. Does that warrant you? And it's okay to chase after somebody with guns? Absolutely not. That doesn't give you the right to do that. But my question to you is this, and I'll open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. We have new videos that have come out this week. One video of Ahmaud Arbery apparently trying to steal a 65-inch TV with his friends. You see how he interacts with police. We have another video of Arbery parking his car in a park, lunging at a police officer. Does that change anything in this case? Does it change your opinions on what took place in Georgia that ended Ahmaud Arbery's life? Should it change the narrative in any way, shape, or form, or do you still feel the same way? Now, me personally, I still think this was murder. But what do you think? Maybe I'm wrong. We want to hear your opinions. The number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation is 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of this conversation, taking your calls at 257-5396. We want to hear from you, your opinions on this case. Has the narrative changed? We'll take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Right now, home sweet home has never been sweeter. Our homes are more important than ever.
I know we already
Finding
have
people we trust to take care of them
Malik
is
and
just
Kelvin,
as
the
important. For over 20 years, Home Advisor has been connecting homeowners with trusted local plumbers, electricians, roofers, and more. And now we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the Home Advisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer200 for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer200.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Special report coronavirus update. While states and nations are reopening, the World Health Organization's Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus reports a record for new cases today.
We still have a long way to go in this pandemic. In the last 24 hours, there have been 106,000 cases reported to WHO, the most in a single day since the outbreak began.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says China cares more about its communist doctrine than the lives of people.
We greatly underestimated the degree to which Beijing is ideologically and politically hostile to free nations. The whole world is waking up to that fact.
Pompeo again blamed China for making the pandemic worse by refusing to provide the world with accurate and timely information on the outbreak of the coronavirus. The Dow up near 300. I'm Mike Moss.
If you're attacked by...
It's time to check the roads.
From the Leonard Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. The crash MLK Boulevard northbound at Bonanza still active, causing delays. Avoid the slowing. Use an alternate like Rancho or I-15 instead. Also an accident reported on Fort Apache north of Russell. There you could use Grand Canyon or Durango and get around that way. Also, roadwork continues on Boulder Highway north and southbound between Wagon Wheel and Charleston. Expect delays in the work zone. Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered with one download. You can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
The best choice for cleaning and sanitizing? Hazmat Nation. If you work in a casino, hotel, restaurant, anywhere where locals and visitors may shop or do business, then tell your boss or employer to call Hazmat Nation today at 800-391-1491. Hazmat Nation will send their Top Gun field crew to clean and sanitize every inch from top to bottom with the top technicians and safety officers. Since 2011, Hazmat Nation has been servicing many of the world's top airlines, arenas, hotels, and hospitality venues of every kind, following strict CDC and EPA guidelines. Hazmat Nation gets it done right the first time. Call Hazmat Nation at 800-391-1491. When they come out to do a free estimate, they'll send along a gallon of CDC EPA-approved hand sanitizer just to say thanks. And they can keep delivering it to you anytime you need it at everyday low-volume discounted prices. Call Hazmat Nation today at 800-391-1491 or go online to hazmatnation.com.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
Travis Scribner, managing partner of Westpac Wealth Partners, interviews some of the most successful business owners for insight into what makes both them and their business run. Tune in every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON, or podcasts on iTunes.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us on a Wednesday. So we're talking about the Ahmaud Arbery case. We're talking about these new videos that have surfaced. One video of police addressing Arbery in a park, and he lunges at one of the officers, and they tried to tase him. Another situation where back in 2017, he tried to wheel out a 65-inch TV out of a store. Like, he wasn't trying to steal a toothbrush or toothpaste. But again, another situation where he was very aggressive with police. Does that change the narrative for you, or do your opinions stay the same on this case? We want to hear from you. The number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. Let's start off with Calvin. Calvin, you are first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Great conversation.
Hey, what's up, Calvin?
As a retired police officer, 30 years, you can bring up 100 videos. It has nothing to do with the incident that happened on that day.
Right.
And even if he was shoplifting, if he was arrested for it, he paid his stay in the crime. And even if he was going against the police in the park, so what? What happened to him in the street? Mm-hmm. And when he made that 90 degrees turn, who's to say he wasn't fighting for his life? Nobody is saying what was said between them when he made that. What if they said, I'm going to blow your brains out? And he said, okay, I'm going to try to take this gun and get him.
That's very possible.
That is very possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's bringing that up. And you know, I'm going to be short today, and I just want to tell JD, Trump is not taking that medication. And I just hope he doesn't revive Jim Jones and tell his followers to do it too, because a lot of you are going to pay for it with your life. And I pray that we move on. Thank you.
Calvin, I appreciate that. Good. I don't think JD is going to be taking hydroxy anytime soon, but there are a lot of dummies out there that will, sadly, Calvin. And I hear what you're saying, by the way. Calvin made a very good point there. We don't know exactly what was exchanged as far as words go between the McClans in that truck and Arbery's. For example, and again, I'm just giving a hypothetical. If they said, stop or I'll shoot, you move 1 inch, I'll shoot you, then maybe it does justify what Arbery did.
And was there a turn coming up? Was there a left turn coming up? Was there
we don't know
an adjacent street that he could have ran onto?
Listen, I'm just asking the question here. Well, I'm asking the question. These videos that came out with Arbery going after a police officer, lunging at an officer, and then this theft of attempted theft of a 65-inch TV doesn't change the narrative for you. 257-5396. Let's go to L. L, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, L?
Good morning, guys. This is so troubling for me. You know, the black male might be the most profiled people in this country. I still don't understand why. Is it that they look scary? They look intimidated? I'm going to tell you my story. Now, I've lived here in Vegas. I probably have been stopped about 5 or 6 times by the police. Never once was I ticketed. A couple of times I could have been, because one of it had to do with my phone. But the police are almost apologetic. And one time they told me, don't worry, I'm not going to give you a ticket. We're looking for bad guys. What does that mean? Does the black man represent somebody bad? I hate that you keep having this guy on who's trying to explain this. He's explaining Trayvon Martin. I don't want to hear it. They got to stop killing these. I just don't get why the black man qualifies as bad. I see a lot of scary Mexicans. I see a lot of scary white people. I drive. I see a lot of people. Why is the
I can only speak for myself. I see a lot of very scary bald white Jews. I was talking about myself there. I'm sorry. That was a horrible joke. No, but in all seriousness, Elle, listen. I understand what you're saying. I do. I really. No, listen. I get it, and I'm not an African American, but I've seen it. I understand what you're saying, and trust me, if you listen to this show, and I know you do often, you know that I am on the side of yourself. I appreciate that. Listen, I am not defending the McMichaels. Trust me on that. What I am saying is this. I will say this, though, Elle, and you might disagree with me on this. This kid didn't seem like he was very intelligent. Now, did he deserve to die? Of course not. Did he deserve to be chased down like an animal? Of course not. But, Elle, I say this all the time. Even if you're an African American and even if you're a minority and you think police officers are harassing you, you don't be aggressive towards them. You have to comply, right, Elle?
I tell my friends, when I tell them I never got a ticket, like with the phone, not having my phone holder, I say, guys, and these are my friends, when they stop, you just try to be as pleasant. You know, you don't get angry. And
right.
Just try to be pleasant. And Brian, that's where you're right.
Yeah.
But again, complying with police officers does not apply to this because they were not police officers.
Of course. I'm just saying in general.
They were wannabe vigilantes.
I understand.
And I really think that if he kept running, they would have kept chasing him. Why would they have stopped chasing him?
Very possible, but what we're talking about is those other instances with
Arbery, I get that.
where it didn't seem like he was complying. That's all.
I'm not saying he wasn't intelligent, but he definitely didn't make good he made bad decisions on a pretty consistent basis.
You know what? When there are police officers involved with guns, you better not make bad decisions because it could cost you your life. You're right, though. The McMichaels were not police officers. Let's go back to the phone lines. 702-257-5396. Thank you for the call, Elle. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Anthony?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind? Thank you.
Every day.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, my take on this is nobody deserves to die. Whether or not you did right or wrong, you're not the judge. The officer, what do you call them? The Klan members? I believe you said the father.
McClans is what he calls them. Yeah.
Yeah. I call them the McClans, Anthony, and here's why. I believe they're racist. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a cross with a black doll in their backyard, lighting it on fire every night. The reason why I say that,
think they have an effigy?
I absolutely believe that they are absolute racist. And then, people in that area are such dopes. There's such dopes in that area. There's a lot of racism in that area. I believe, Anthony, that if this kid was white, we would not have the same result. And that is absolute racism. And that's why I call them that.
I believe you 100%. And I'd like to really go back to him as an officer because I think I've heard 5 judges have declined.
Correct.
To prosecute this.
Yep, you're right.
I'd like to go back to him and the police officer. How many times?
How many favors?
Not good on his behalf.
Yeah, exactly.
But they still took him to trial. They still did this. They still did that.
Yeah. By the way, and I'm glad you brought that up. Here's something else that a lot of people don't bring up in the media. The fact that this guy's gun was taken away from him and the fact that it was said in writing that he could never be a member of law enforcement ever again for the rest of his life. Now, that's going to come out. We're going to find out why.
And that's a very aggressive statement, Brian.
Yeah.
You can never be a member of law enforcement for perpetuity. That is a statement.
No question.
Obviously, he did something pretty heinous to have a statement like that be bestowed upon him.
No question. Anthony, good to hear from you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Great call, Anthony.
257-5396. Let's go to Al. Al, you're next up on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Al?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Brian, it sounds a little bit like you've changed your position on this because of these videos that have come out.
How have I changed my position? No, it's not accurate at all.
You've changed from murder 1 to manslaughter.
I haven't changed my position. JD, if you recall, I said when I first heard this story, it would be hard to convict these 2 men of murder. Now, does that mean I don't want them to be convicted of murder? Absolutely not. Let me be clear for you, sir, if I may. I want these 2 to get the electric chair. I want them to be stoned to death. With that being said, I hope that's clear enough for you. With that being said, I think it's going to be very hard to convict them on murder because it appears as though Arbery started the physical part of the confrontation. I have not changed my position one bit.
Well, I still see vigilantes. There were
Sure.
a lot of other ways they could have handled this situation. And do you think they'll bring all this other stuff in?
Yes.
In a trial?
Yes.
They'll be able to show this, even though it really has nothing to do with what
I
happened.
think they will show it for this reason, and I understand what you're saying, but here's why I think they'll bring it up. Look, the defense attorneys probably aren't going to have a lot to go on. There weren't a lot of robberies in that area like the McClans said there were, but what they are going to try to do, they're going to try to portray this kid to be a criminal. They're going to try to portray him to be a bad kid who was aggressive and confrontational. Now, do I think that'll work? Probably not. At least I hope not. But let me be clear again, my position hasn't changed at all. I do believe that this kid was extremely immature and not very bright. That doesn't justify what took place that night. I hope you understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying, yeah, go ahead. Okay.
I do, and I agree with you. And I hate to say this, but like in many trials, I hate to think that it's going to come down to jury selection and who's on that jury in terms of.
I think you're right.
Well, I don't think they can try this in Brunswick.
No, I don't know if they will or not, but I will say this.
Can.
I will say this. We're going to learn a lot more about the McMichaels, too, not just Arbery. We're going to learn a lot about the McMichaels past. But I appreciate the call, sir, and I hope I answered that. I try to be as consistent as I can. Listen, if there was evidence that came out that was, let's just say, for example, the Arbery, did break into somebody's home, and we learned that, and then we learned that Arbery made a threat. Yeah, my opinion could change if more evidence comes out, but it's not changing right now.
And I want to, one thing that I'm actually surprised that Joe Gilbert didn't know that the home invasion story was told to his mother.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. He never mentioned the fact that William Roddy, who took the video, apparently, when he said that he was trying to avoid, a race war, then Gregory McMichael says that he released it to protect himself. There's a lot of things that are not adding up on both sides.
There's a lot of racist dopes that live in that area, but I want the police held accountable. I want the DA's office held accountable, and I want to know why these people were not arrested that night. They put this thing under the rug, and thank God that the McMichaels are so dumb that they thought that releasing this video would help them. It's the only reason why we're talking about it today, because they are dopes. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Malik. Malik, you're next up on the Vegas Take. Did we lose Malik? All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. I think we're having some technical issues, if I'm not mistaken. Or do we have some technical issues?
I got to tell you, I'm shocked.
All right. Well, I guess we have to take a break.
Okay.
All right. What's going on here? Do we break? All right, we'll take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take.
Unreal.
Is that 4 today, Stein?
Well, it's definitely.
Because I'm telling my dad he's going to talk to Peter.
Well, it's not 4. We had trouble connecting at the beginning of the show, and then we had, I think, briefly Joel Gilbert cut out. Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, but when I cranked you up, you could. So I think that was an issue with him being able to hear.
Oh, so was it sound?
Yeah, I don't think it was this.
Reset it. Okay. This is a fucking joke. And we're starting to get a bunch of calls, and
it's our fault for not connecting to the router.
Oh,
I'm just going to keep bugging Schaefer every time. Every time. Every time. What can you do? They won't let us. Your dad really needs to take care of this, JD.
Well, I said that.
The money that he's paying them, they got to get us back in the studio.
Well, he made a big payment yesterday. That's why he's calling today.
Yeah, and he needs to say, you need to get us back in.
I'm only telling him to pay 40% right now. He's only paying 40%.
How do we know that that's
He's
him?
not paying 40%.
They're letting Cubicle.
That's him.
They're letting Cubicle Ben back in the building so he can
that's
smoke
him.
all day.
He does love to smoke.
I don't know if that's him.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, if
I think he said hi to me 7 times.
then that doesn't
He
surprise
said
me.
how are you
They
once.
said he was at the Klan rally in Rome, Georgia.
Good. Well, if he is, then that's good.
I'll find out.
Then if that's true, then that's going to be a huge.
What?
That'll convict him. The clans. I'm brilliant. I was right.
So you're saying that your brother makes jerky?
My granddad.
Your granddad makes jerky. Is it good?
This is ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
We're getting momentum with
We
calls.
used to go hunting like
5 people on
every
it.
season, pull about 4 or 5 deers and put a bunch of deer meat up, stock and make burgers, steaks, everything. Like, yeah.
How old are you then? Like 80?
76.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm down to buy some of these sons for sale.
Word. I don't know if they've actually done anything lately yet. My cousin, he went hunting. He just killed 2 really nice turkeys, like really fat turkeys. But I don't know if they got
I'm a
any
jerky
deer
guy. yet. Yeah. So is my wife, so it'll make her happy.
Cool.
Which makes me happy.
I'll talk.
Cool,
talk
man.
to him.
Sweet.
Let you know.
Sweet, thanks.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
How is it surprising at this point? It can't be
Times
surprising.
more
It's
likely
happened
to
every fucking day
develop
for the last 6 days.
cardiovascular disease. And what's truly shocking to me is that millions of people living with diabetes are aware of their increased risk for heart disease. What will it take to sink in? If you have type 2 diabetes, know your risk of heart disease.
Time to
Know
bash
your
Beasley
risk of
again.
heart disease.
Time to bash
Know your
Beasley.
risk of heart disease.
Every time I'm gonna keep punishing them. You're gonna do this to us.
By knowing your risk.
We have to explain to
Heart
people
disease
what
and
happened.
diabetes are linked. No matter how you have to hear it, please listen.
I'm better at just
because
chiming
the
in.
sooner you know your heart disease risk, your doctor can do about it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we'll be back in 1 minute.
Back in 1 minute. Do we still have some? Do we still have some callers?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of callers. Hey, 1 minute, and then we'll have 8 in the segment. So.
Okay, 8 minutes in the segment. Who's the first caller up?
Yep. Next one's gonna be Malik.
Didn't we just have Malik on?
No, that wasn't him.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
yeah, we had Al. I think it was Al. So.
All right, we'll go to.
No, it was Anthony. So.
We'll go to Malik first, then. That's
You got
fine.
it, man. Hey, Malik and then Mike. All right. See you soon.
Okay.
Means goodwill, where I can really make a difference. Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her.
Who, son?
Yeah. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We apologize. We've had some technical difficulties, and I'm going to leave that to our producer, Jason Stein, to explain what's going on here.
Take it away, Mr.
Take it away, Mr. Stein.
I wish I did know what was going on. We've got faulty equipment. I was told that I'm not thank you for that abrupt ending there. That was good. I was told that we had to buy a 50-foot Ethernet cable from the local Walmart. We had to buy that. Yeah, I went we did. Well, when I went to the Walmart, they were sold out. So I'm working on it. Apparently, if I plug this 50-foot Ethernet cord into Brian's router, all the problems will go away. So we'll see about that.
You're not plugging anything into my router, my friend. I leave that for my dates, okay? I'll leave that alone. All right, so what we were doing is we were talking about Ahmaud Arbery.
He wants to park his bike in your garage.
We were talking about the Ahmaud Arbery situation, and I want to get back to that, the situation with Arbery being aggressive with police, attempting to steal a 65-inch TV. Does it change the narrative for you? It really doesn't change it that much for me, except this kid might not have been the brightest bulb in the world, and we're taking your phone calls right now. I know a lot of people have been waiting on hold, so we'll get to you at 257-5396. Let's go to Malik. Malik, you're next up in the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Malik?
Yo, fellas, how you guys doing?
Good.
Doing okay.
What's on your mind?
As a black man, when I listen to that filmmaker,
Yep.
I wanted to reach to the phone and choke him to death.
That sounds painful.
He's such an evil man to call Trayvon, to write a book, Trayvon, and all this narrative about black people we need something like that to rile us up. Man, we was in slavery, man. We got enough to rile us up about. You know what I'm saying? So all that but he's just such a a man with no empathy to think about Zimmerman and his rights. Here was a 30-year-old man, idiot, following this young boy, and this young boy, it's a good thing he have a gun. Because I wish Trayvon had a gun, because then the story would be different. Then it would be different. Then Trayvon would be in jail.
Well, there's no question. There's no question that Zimmerman should have never gotten out of the car. I said that. If Zimmerman didn't go after Trayvon and follow him, if the McMichaels didn't go after Arbery, those two men would still be alive today, and we need to remember that.
Right. That's what I said about Arbery, Ahmaud Arbery. Whether or not the dude, hey, look, I shoplifted when I was a kid. Okay, I committed crimes when I was a teenager. So I mean, that don't mean nothing, man. That has nothing to do with it. He was a human being, and so same with Michael Brown. I don't agree with you on none of that. Michael Brown, yeah, he was a kid. Cop was a grown man with a gun.
Yeah, but hold on a second. I'm gonna. Here's Malik. Here's where we're going to disagree. Michael Brown, excuse me, Michael Brown, completely different scenario, and I don't want to go back into Ferguson, but I will say that. But I will say this though: he just committed a strong arm robbery, and hold on. There's more. There are African Americans that were witnesses that said that Michael Brown charged toward the officer. He did not have his hands up. The hands up, don't shoot narrative was false. You have a police officer. Well, I mean, listen. Well, listen. I don't agree with it. Okay.
Nobody really seen anything.
All right. Then you are saying that the African Americans, the several African Americans that were witnesses, were lying, and you're saying everything with the forensics was a lie as well.
What I'm saying is what I'm saying, Brian, is this. We don't know people's motivation at the time this happened. That's a long time.
I hear you. Well, listen, I understand. Yeah.
Right now, when we're talking about Ahmaud Arbery.
I understand. I get it, Malik. I understand. Well,
as a white guy, I can jog in a black neighborhood and guarantee you nobody won't accuse me of robbing or stealing. They'll just let me jog right to the neighborhood.
Malik, there's no doubt if we're talking, and I appreciate the phone call as always, there's no doubt that this specific situation, in my personal opinion, was murder. But hold on. But in the Michael Brown situation, that is a different case with different circumstances, and I am not going to defend Michael Brown.
And in the Trayvon Martin case, if George Zimmerman didn't have a gun, he might be dead. And Trayvon Martin would most likely be in jail for whatever for assault on George Zimmerman.
257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Omar. Omar, you're next.
What's up, Omar?
Hey, I'm just calling, man, checking in on the Ahmaud Arbery situation. And my biggest concern is why there's such a double standard and nobody ever checks the toxicology and the background of the people that actually kill these unarmed black men.
They're going to. Make no mistake about it. We're going to know everything about the McMichaels, and we're learning a lot more. Omar, I want to know all that stuff, and trust me. Right now, there is a. Well. Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing.
Because they weren't convicted of a crime, or they weren't charged with a crime immediately.
Right, they weren't charged with a crime immediately, and. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean toxicology?
To see if they were intoxicated.
Okay.
Okay, that's true.
Well, I don't know if they did do that, but what I will tell you is this, Omar. There is a ton of pressure on the prosecutors in that city right now. By the way, rightfully so. We are going to learn anything and everything about the McMichaels. If they were But even if they weren't if they were on drugs or they weren't on drugs, murder's murder, and I don't think that would help them or hurt them. In fact, that could actually help them. If they were actually drunk or on drugs, you could make the case that they weren't in the right state of mind. I don't think there's any evidence to support the fact that they were drunks or on drugs. I think there's a lot of evidence to support the fact that they were racist. I appreciate the phone call. Good
call, Omar. Thanks.
702-257-5396. Let's go to Frank. Frank, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Frank?
Howdy. Couple questions on when he was looking into the construction site. You guys acted like he was just checking out to see what they were building?
Well, he didn't steal anything, so...
No. Why do you think he was looking into the construction in the window? Why do you think he was...
Well, he wasn't... First of all...
He wasn't. He was actually inside.
First of all, I have the answer to that. Number one, he wasn't looking through the window.
No.
There were no windows. Number two, he got some water. There was a faucet of water in the back of the construction site, and he drank some water. Based on all the evidence that we know, he was not committing a crime.
What? you're telling me he went to this area just to get a drink of water in the
Well, considering he was jogging.
He was jogging, and there's no evidence to support the fact that he was committing a crime. But you know what? I'll take your opinion, and let's just assume. Hold on a second. Let's just go to the extreme here, which he would be wrong. But let's go to the extreme that he was committing a very serious crime. Does that give two white people the right to get in a truck and brandish guns?
Nobody, I'm not saying that.
So what are you saying then? So why are you talking? So why are you focused in calling into our show? What was he doing in a construction site? What you should be focused.
He's not. That they're going to make him sound like he's a criminal. Well, he stole the TV. Doesn't that make?
That has nothing. That has nothing to do with this case.
That was
3 years
earlier. Yeah, that crime is totally independent
That was
to
3
this
years.
particular situation, and it can't have bearing on it. That's the entire point. Just because he's committed crimes in the past and he hasn't dealt with police officers or he hasn't been compliant with police officers doesn't mean that a couple of guys can hunt him down, not as police officers, chase him for 4 minutes with guns brandished and expect nothing to happen in response.
Was that Laura Ingram's father that just called into the show? I think it was actually.
The other thing is, guy, when he was at that video of him in the construction house, the house that was under construction, there were power tools in there. You know, if he really wanted to steal some expensive equipment, he could have done it.
$300 to $500, nothing crazy. It would have looked a little weird.
But he didn't.
You know?
He didn't steal anything. That's the other.
But I mean,
Don't you find?
that
This is the problem. All due respect to that last caller, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You have a 25-year-old young man who was murdered. Okay, I call it a lynching. And then the first thing that comes to mind to somebody white who calls into our show,
did he deserve it?
Is well, what was he doing in that construction site? Was he looking through the window?
I'll tell you what. If I was jogging,
do we really have that many grand wizards that live in Las Vegas?
If I was jogging for X amount of time and I could find a way to get some water, I would probably do the exact same thing.
Really, the thinking of that last gentleman, this case, the first thing that comes to his mind is, what was he doing looking through that window on that construction site? Let's not think about the two white men who murdered this kid.
He's also coming from the school of thought that the McMichaels were police officers, and they had a right to pursue him, chase him down with guns drawn, and they did not.
Well,
that is why, at a minimum, it'll be manslaughter, most likely murder one.
Well, I hope they do go to jail, and I hope they go to jail for a very, very long time, hopefully the rest of their lives. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to mix things up a little bit. I know our producer, Jason Stein, is a big fan of blow-up dolls, but blow-up dolls in restaurants, that's right, that's what they're doing to help social distancing. Stein has a big smile on his face. He's like, where is that restaurant? I want to go see it.
You made a funny joke.
What's for dessert? All right, so coming up next, her name is Paula Starr.
God damn it. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Some level of reopening. 17 states
since when we have a hard break at 11, I don't know.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says cases
I never knew we had a
down
hard
in
break
his
at
state.
11.
We're not seeing any kind of
you saw I
spikes
had
from the
the 5
general
up.
public. And even Miami and South Florida, you definitely see a decline from where they were. Miami reported 69 cases today. At their height, they were at 500 in early April.
Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont says his cases are down too.
Our hospitalizations are going down. Our testing and track and trace are going up. It's worth remembering that when you say we're just reopening today, we never closed down manufacturing. We never closed down construction. We kept our stores open for pickup and delivery.
Oh, but my throwing John in the
so we
station
did
under
a
the
lot
bus
of things in
got us
our
some progress
phase one that
John, I'm getting you a cable. You will have it
new
next
virus
Wednesday.
cases worldwide today, the worst day yet for the pandemic.
Well, because I went on the air and laughed at him for trying to say that we should go to Walmart and
Michigan
buy our
Governor
own.
Gretchen Whitmer says thousands have been forced to flee their homes in the Midland area after rain caused.
1 minute later, John's buying me a cable.
What you already know, you've seen some pictures. It's devastating.
He's buying us a cable.
We know
Yeah,
that
it's a joke.
this water
Of course it's a
incredibly
joke.
damaging.
It makes
It's,
that should have happened
a week.
And it makes them look really bad.
Thousands.
You're making a brokerage show.
Whitmer says the flooding
the
is being
top-rated
called
show in
a
Vegas by a
five-figure
long
event.
shot. You're forced to buy
Secretary of State
Yeah,
Mike
literally.
Pompeo
Brian, you
denies
know
the
that?
State
I went to
Department
Walmart with
Inspector
Brian.
General
I went and I
was
asked. They
fired
were
in
sold out.
retaliation for conducting an investigation into Pompeo and his wife.
Well, I've asked that before. Several times before. We're not getting.
You know what happened?
Peter's probably. Frankly, should have
hope so.
The pressure's coming today.
A federal judge in Texas rules all voters in the state, including those afraid of getting the virus,
her last name is
request absentee mail-in ballots due to the pandemic.
Paula Starr is her name.
On Wall Street, Dow was up 295 points. S&P.
Call her Brian. Call her
I'm
Paula
Mike
Starr.
Moss.
Don't call her Paula.
It's time to check the roads.
Paula Starr. Traffic
Studios.
Mary Jane.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. Police on scene for a crash at Decatur at Bonanza Road. There are delays at the intersection. Avoid slowing, take an alternate. You could use Rancho or Jones Boulevard instead. No delays to report. I-15 north and southbound between the Spaghetti Bowl. Looks good all the way to Tropicana. Road work continues on Maryland Parkway north and south between Russell and Las Vegas Boulevard. Watch for slowing. Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
It's just outrageous.
I'm John Michaels from the K-Don.
That these salespeople who can do
Get
their
the rest
job
you
from
deserve
anywhere.
with Helix Sleep. Helix
All they
makes
do is make cold
personalized
calls.
mattresses to fit your
Technically,
unique
all
body
they need
type
is a
and
phone
sleep
and a-
preferences. And
Not
give
the
you
same
the
way.
best sleep of
Salespeople,
your
all they
life.
need is
Go
a
to
phone and a computer. That's all
HelixSleep.com
they need.
and get up to $200
Phone
off
and a
mattress
computer.
orders.
Hi, it's
Us?
David Master.
We need
Join me and my
a
brother
studio.
Al
We need
for
to be able to
Advice
see our
Line,
board
10
out.
to
We need to
midnight,
be able
Monday
to
through Friday, right here on
far,
720 KDON
far.
and on 101.5 FM. That's Advice Line, America's live radio counseling program. If you've got problems, we've got your answers. Monday through Friday, 10 to midnight.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with
I
Bono.
feel like last names
Join
are
my
basically
husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m.,
Like
right here
whenever,
on
like-
KDON.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
Have you been lied to by Washington politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine? Hi, I'm Inc. Magazine best-selling author Brett Kitchen, and if you're over 55 with an IRA or 401k, I want to give you a free copy of my new book, Wealth Beyond Wall Street, because according to Time Magazine, Wall Street's 401ks have failed millions of Americans. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash years ago, I said enough, and since then I discovered a way to grow money potential double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits.
Yeah, then he
When the
rears
next
his
market crash
duck
hits,
face,
you
and the
lose
only thing
nothing.
he has to say
Call
to
Wealth
us is
Beyond
that we're
Wall
being
Street now to
belligerent.
get your free book and talk to a specialist to discover this little-known
How about
strategy
how about
to get
rearing
potential
your head and
double-digit
telling us,
growth
hey,
during
good
good
ratings?
years and never
How would that
lose in
be?
the next market crash.
Too much
Call
credit.
800
That was just a weird
436-8181 to discover this asset that people like Walt Disney and JC
It made no
use to
sense. It
grow
came
wealth.
out of nowhere.
Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling.
And then John
no credit
said,
card
"Oh, we
required.
want to talk
Call
about the
800
election."
436 8181. 1 800 436
Remember when John said
8181.
that?
That's 1 800
Well, Jason
436
goes, he goes,
8181.
so just give us a heads up
101.5
what we wanna
FM,
talk about.
720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
All right, let's hopefully get another hour.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Thank you, Mr. President, for that endorsement. From what I've learned is when we do have technical difficulties, that's when the president has time to tweet during our show. That's what I've heard. I've heard that from some people in the Trump administration. I don't know if that's true or not, allegedly. But anyway, welcome back to the show. It is Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. And, you know, we hear about this term social distancing all the time, right? It's a term that women have been using against me for years, and now we're all doing it. It's called social distancing. And you go to a restaurant. Some of these restaurants are opening up slowly in phase one, particularly here in Las Vegas, but a lot of them are only at 50% capacity. The restaurants I've been to, you can't be sitting table to table with other people. Well, guess what? There's one restaurant that is located in South Carolina. The Hearth, I believe, is what it is called. And the owner of that restaurant is using dolls, blow-up dolls in that restaurant to help practice that social distancing and putting these dolls at the empty tables. I find that unique, to say the least. Paula Starr is the owner of that restaurant in South Carolina, and she joins us on the show right now. Paula Starr, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for having me.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so tell me this. When you learned that you were able to reopen your restaurant, who came up with this idea with these dolls?
Well, couple of girlfriends and I were sitting in the backyard and drinking a little wine and ruminating over what I was going to do, because we have been sitting in this house, my husband and I, except for doing takeout at the restaurant for 3 months now. And so we decided that we'd come up with something clever. And I used to be a fashion director at a mall here in town and suggested mannequins, but mannequins were way too expensive and the malls were hoping to open, so I couldn't borrow anything. And one girl said, well, as my husband drove through Atlanta, he always had a blow-up doll in the left-hand lane and was able to make it in the fast lane of traffic.
Wait, hold on a second. I got to interrupt you for a second. That's funny to me. So you're telling me your husband would go in the carpool lane and he would have a blow-up doll I thought that was a myth. Your husband actually does that.
No, not my husband.
Oh.
It was my next-door neighbor.
Gotcha. Okay.
He traveled a lot, and so yes, it is the truth. It is the truth. But I shouldn't say her name now, for fear she would be exploited about that, or he would be. But anyway, we said let's just sit down with our computers and come up with another thing than mannequins. And we looked through the computers and found all kinds of blow-up dolls, but these are in very good taste, have nice makeup on them. The men do have a little hair on their chest, but we were able to conceal that with the right shirt and the right necktie. And the makeup is wonderful. The dolls have served not only as social distancing, but they've served to also lighten the mood. And I can tell you that the yellow caution tape and the blue tape people are putting across the booth has actually made you feel like you were still part of the pandemic. Not that
Right.
it's not it right forefront of our minds.
I agree. Paula Star, yeah.
See these dolls, it's just been fabulous.
I was just going to say, I agree with you. You guys are having fun with this. This is very funny. I find it very, very interesting. And, you're right. Instead of having blue tape or tape, oh, don't go here, it makes people think about the coronavirus. But when you have these blow-up dolls.
It's more comforting.
When you have these blow-up dolls in these booths, it makes people laugh. Let me ask you this. Have any of your customers gotten close to any of these blow-up dolls? Like, have they taken pictures?
They bought them drinks. They sat down next to them and taken photos. My Facebook page has blown up with these dolls, and it's gone international. I have to tell you, it went the first night we had a local NBC affiliate come in and do about a 9-minute take on the dolls, and then Fox Carolina News came on and did about a 7-minute take on the dolls. And ever since then, I've had people calling me from Canada, people said they saw it in Russia. They said they saw it in Vietnam and Australia. I mean, it has been in Greece. It has been everywhere. And some of my friends have family in these countries, and the family's been calling them saying, oh, I see your friend in South Carolina. So
That's great. I love the fact that you have customers that are hitting on the blow-up dolls and buying them drinks, but I have to ask you this. What would you do, Paul the Star, if you had a customer go up to you and say, I find that doll very attractive, I'd like to take her or him home with me, and offered you like $5,000. If someone offered you like $5,000, would you let a customer come in there?
Take them, yes, sir.
I think that's a very realistic scenario.
Yeah, $5,000 seems a little steep, Brian.
I was thinking maybe $10. Yeah, you could.
Then I'd come to Las Vegas.
Paula, theoretically, you could actually you could auction off a date with one of those dolls sometime, and that would probably go pretty well. Have you had anyone try and actually steal one of these dolls?
No, I have not.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
I did have somebody yesterday call me, though, and say that they were going to have a reveal party for their new grandchild. And they knew the child was a boy, and they wanted to dress the boy in a pink shirt and blue pants and put him in a hammock for the reveal party. So the party's on Sunday, and we're not open on Sundays. So they're going to take one of the dolls and put him in a hammock and use that as their baby reveal. So now is that clever or what? I mean,
I like it.
That is very clever.
Paula Starr, a couple quick questions. I don't know if you answered it. One, where did you get these dolls? And then two, is it true that some?
Order them off of that. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say you didn't go to like any kind of sex shop or anything like that, any seedy place. Okay.
No, that's what my husband was afraid of.
Because they got. Because if I wanted to get a blow up doll in Vegas, you know where I'd go.
I know. I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure, but I haven't investigated that. But
Okay.
I will tell you.
You got them on Amazon. You got them on Amazon. Okay. Yeah.
I got them on Amazon, and they are very, they're in very good taste.
And
There
that-
are no obscene body parts.
And then I watched a local news story, Paula Starr. Is it true that some of these dolls have wigs? Is that real hair?
Yes, I've put wigs on the women, and one or two of the women, and some of the women I put hats on.
Well,
I did not because we're a white tabletop restaurant. We've been in business for over 6 decades, and actually into our 7th decade, and we really feel like I didn't want to dress them in any way that would be offensive. I've only had one bad comment on Facebook, and it was that the dolls were scary. And
Well, you're going to have some push. You're going to have some minimal pushback. Absolutely.
I know that.
Can I, Paula Starr, I just want to ask you this. Can you take me back to what you said earlier? Take me back to the moment where a customer comes up to you and says, "Can I buy that blow-up doll a drink?" Like, how does that happen? Because I'd be embarrassed to do that, although it'd be very funny. Can you explain to me the scenario of how that happens?
Well, what we did is the 2 dolls that are sitting right in the very front of the restaurant, as soon as you walk in, you see them. It's a man and a woman. And the customer said, "Buy them some martinis just like you drink." So I had them make them water martinis.
So it was a joke.
Yes, it was a joke.
Okay.
And so then they bought me a drink. So that was wonderful.
I like it.
Yeah, it wasn't a person hoping to sit down and have a conversation with a doll.
No, they did
Okay.
not sit down and have a
Okay.
conversation, but they did sit down and put their arm around the lady.
Okay, that sounds about right. Have you seen an uptick in business since doing this?
Tremendously. It is. I have never. I can't take my eyes off of Facebook right now. It has just gone viral.
Yeah.
On the Colbert show the other night.
That's
They
great.
Interviewed me. I know. And the Today Show this past Sunday.
That's great.
It's been wonderful.
What you have done, Paula Starr, is genius. First of all, it's genius for your restaurant because you're getting all this free publicity. And number two, I think what you're doing is very funny. I think it was very innovative what you've done. It's very funny. It's about people having a good time during a very difficult time that we're in during this pandemic. And I wish you and your restaurant the best. You sound like a very nice lady. And I promise you, if I'm ever in South Carolina, I am going to go to your restaurant.
You better do that.
You're damn right I will.
Send me your address so if I'm ever in Las Vegas and I ever get a break, I'll be there.
We will do that.
Absolutely.
I would love to do that. You sound like a fun lady to hang out with, and I will buy you a drink or one of your blow-up dolls if you bring one with you. But in all seriousness, Paula Starr, thank you. That's true. You might have to buy them.
No, this is Las Vegas. Anything goes here.
Anything goes in Vegas. But yeah, getting that blow-up doll on a plane might be a difficult thing to do. But Paula Starr,
you can just deflate it, right?
Paula Starr, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, and wish you the best with your restaurant.
And I wish you a lot of success with all of your openings. I know it's a terrible time.
No question.
Horrible time.
We appreciate it.
The light in the mood, as I said.
And you've done that. You certainly have done that. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
that's
Paula.
Paula Starr, the owner of the Earth Restaurant in South Carolina. She's got blow-up dolls in there, and she's made
Is this Myrtle Beach or
I love it.
Which part is this, Stein?
It's called Taylor's, South Carolina. I'm not sure
Taylor's.
what part of the state that's in, but she was just a delight. And
she was amazing. She was great.
I just think it's funny because she made it clear to say, no, I got these on Amazon. She wasn't going in any kind of seedy place. Whereas here we would call up our friend Tim Unglesby and ask for
That's right. Deja vu, adult
dozen.
And they would have real. Can I ask you both a question before we go to break? Let me ask you both the question because I think you both, this might be your expertise. If you buy a blow-up doll and it says on the box, feels like a real woman, I'm thinking to myself, if you're buying one of these blow-up dolls, you probably don't know what a real woman feels like anyway. Do you think that's a fair assumption to make? Stein, you're the expert when it comes to these blow-up dolls, so you tell me. Do you think that's fair?
What was the question?
Oh, wow, he's not even listening to me. You just pulled the JD.
I like that. That was a good move, Stein.
You just pulled the JD.
Very shrewd.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Hey, Brian, I think you're trying to take a wonderful story by a wonderful,
and he's spinning it,
wholesome woman and turn it into something dirty.
Hey, play it, Sean.
Personally, I think you're a genius, Brian.
Very funny. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, this is a wild and crazy story of what took place in a Costco. People refusing to put their masks on. They were kicked out because of it. We have the audio. What a bunch of dopes, folks. You're not going to believe this. We'll take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Every home has a to-do list. That leaky drain, bare spots on the lawn, repainting the trim. To finally get that to-do list done, call in a pro. Over the past 20 years, HomeAdvisor has connected over 100 million homeowners with trusted local pros. And during these times, we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the HomeAdvisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer.
While you can't believe everything on social media these days, you can believe it's possible to start a new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months from the comfort of your own home, even if you have zero computer experience. Instead of waiting to see what happens when life gets back to normal, take control of your future now. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free evaluation today.
You should play. You should have him play a cut of that when she goes, "Thank you for having us," and then the first cut of Dina Titus. Can you tell us who Dina Titus is?
You always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven, and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price, whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one. You cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777, or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, thoughts on Desiree Reed-Francois, now still the athletic director at UNLV. Why I disagree with some takes in this town that it's a great thing that she's still here, and well, we'll get to that coming up here a little bit later on the show. Rumors were that she was going to take the UCLA job, but they did not pick her for the job, and then she withdrew her name out of the hat, not because she didn't want to be the athletic director there, but because she didn't get the job. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is an interesting story, and it's kind of funny and pathetic at the same time. A couple people walk into a Costco. This is not the start of a joke. A couple walks into a Costco. They refuse to wear the mask that the manager asked them to wear, and the manager kicks them out. But the whole incident was caught on tape, and it happened in Colorado. And apparently, the social media, this thing was shared by a Costco employee in Vegas, even though it didn't happen in Vegas. So I want you to listen to this audio. We kind of had to bleep out a few words here, and then we'll discuss it. Here it is.
I'll just put you on my 3,000 follower Instagram feed, mostly local.
Hi everyone, I work for Costco and I'm asking this member to put on a mask because that is our company policy. So either wear the mask
and I'm not doing it because I woke up in a free country.
Have a great day.
So you're going to take this cart from me,
Sir, have a great
full
day.
of stuff.
You are no longer welcome here in our warehouse. You need to leave. Thank you very much.
Here, you put it on, I'll give you my card. He's going to take the card away because he's a pussy little bitch. There he is, walking away with all my stuff. There he goes. Because I'm not a sheep.
No, you're definitely not an effing sheep, but you have an extremely low IQ. By the way, was that the McClans? Was that a member of the McClan
That has
family?
nothing to do with. Come on, Brian. Don't make that association. Oh, okay. Don't make an association between people who hunted down a gentleman with guns and someone who doesn't want to wear a mask at a Costco. That is insanity.
The association I'm making.
Come on, don't do that.
Hold on. The association I'm making.
That's awful.
The association I'm making is I think they both are extremely unintelligent people.
Oh, okay.
Very stupid
from
people.
an intellectual perspective.
Okay, first of all,
I got you.
For this dope,
obviously he doesn't have a huge vocabulary.
For this dope name,
he doesn't have a problem swearing.
For this dope named Kevin, okay? This is how laws. Yeah, he's now known as Costco Kevin. This is how laws work, you dope. You're on private property. You walk into private property, they can kick you out for anything if they don't like the shirt you're wearing. They ask you to wear a mask because it is their policy. If you don't like the policy and you don't want to abide by it, guess what, you dope? You don't have to shop there, you idiot. Why are people so stupid? Why are these people so dumb?
I'll tell you who's stupid, Costco, because they're about to lose a ton of business because of this.
Well, that's their business. That's up to them.
You're right, and I think they're stupid for it.
Okay, you think they're the stupid one in this situation?
Absolutely.
So you think this guy in there is not stupid for the way he handled that?
Not even at all. Of course.
Really?
So
swear at an employee. You're okay with that?
Absolutely. And under those circumstances, you're not welcome because I'm not wearing a mask. Get out of my face.
It's their policy.
I get that. It's a stupid policy.
That's your opinion. You don't have to shop there.
It's going to cost them a lot of money.
That's a different
I don't know if it's publicly traded or not. I'm not sure if it's publicly traded. Okay. But if it is, buy against it. Buy a put against this particular company if it's publicly traded.
Okay.
You're right.
I understand that when you walk into a private business, you have to abide by their rules.
Of course, Brian.
But you're defending a customer walking in there, not abiding by policy, and swearing at an employee. You're okay with that?
Didn't he have a cart full of things?
Doesn't matter.
Wasn't he in there for an extended period of time?
It doesn't matter. When the management tells you to leave.
So you tell me he was walking around the store without a mask, getting all these items, putting them into his cart? Why didn't he get stopped?
Let me respond to that. It doesn't.
That makes no sense.
What you just said.
If you're going to stop me from wearing a mask, do it when I walk into the store, not when I'm leaving after I've been there for 30 minutes trying to buy stuff.
Completely academic.
Why is it academic?
Here's why. Well, you got to let me talk for 10 seconds. Okay, here's the bottom line. They could have caught him 10 seconds when he was in the store or 10 minutes. Guess what? It doesn't matter. When they decide to stop him and say, sir, you need to wear a mask or you have to leave, he is forced to leave the store.
It would make me very mad if I went there, if I took time out of my day to go to the grocery store to buy stuff for whatever I need.
Then put on a mask or leave.
No, listen, Brian. The point is either you stop me when I walk in or you don't stop me at all.
So you're defending this dope.
Dope?
Yeah, he's a dope.
No, he is not. He's a dope. He is pissed off because he went to Costco to buy groceries. They let him in, and then when he was leaving after he paid for his stuff, or before he paid for his things, they said, by the way, you have to leave because you don't have a mask on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
that's their policy.
Then you should be stopped the second you walk in.
That's not your judgment.
That's
not your judgment.
That's why I agree with him because I would be I would be very, very angry as well under those same circumstances.
Then leave and don't shop there ever again. You have that right.
Zero sense at all. Fine. Again, you don't seem to understand that you go to Costco, you walk around for 45 minutes or whatever, you purchase your things, you're ready to go. Again, it's probably an hour, maybe 2 hours of your day that are just gone, and now you can't get the things that you have, despite the fact. I mean, they could have stopped you the second you walked in with that mask. But without that mask, but they didn't. Exactly.
So what?
The policy should be either you stop me when I walk in, or you don't stop me at all.
That's your opinion on what a private business's policy should be. But guess what? You're not the one who makes the rules. They do because they own the. Hold on. You're about to interrupt me again. I'm not done. They own the business, and you don't.
Great.
Hold on. No. They make the rules and you don't. Now, this employee was just doing his job. And you can laugh all you want to, but it was the employee enforcing their rules and regulations. And this stupid customer, I think he's a dope, he called this guy an effing sheep. He called him a bitch and all these other words. And you are defending that type of behavior, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised because you were defending the behavior of those Trump supporters yesterday that were attacking that local reporter. So it seems like you're okay with people swearing at other people and treating other people like garbage. You're totally okay with that.
I don't have a problem with swearing at people because it is free speech under those circumstances. Now, had he attacked him, different story. But swearing, talking, don't have an issue with that whatsoever.
So that's
Brian.
okay.
No, yeah, to me that's perfectly fine.
You can just swear at somebody.
And again, Costco, in my opinion, should stop people when they walk through the door, once they get through that door and they're able to shop, they should not be able to stop them right before they're trying to check out. To me, and if I was a customer and that was me, I would be extremely angry, and I would probably swear in a similar way that guy did. Okay, and I'd probably call him a sheep, and I'd probably think to myself a lot of horrible words. I don't know if I would say those exact words, but I would not be nice to that particular guy.
Okay, and you know what?
I'm guessing that a lot of people out there would actually attack that particular guy.
Okay, well, so you're going to say that now? It's been a physical.
No, I'm just saying I could see that happening. I could see it if you go to Costco and you've got like 3 or 4 kids, and you walk in and you buy a bunch of things, and right before you leave, they say, "By the way, you can't buy these things because you don't have a mask on." What about the 45 minutes I was here buying things?
All right, I understand.
If you're going to stop me when I walk in the store or before I do.
I know you've said it 5 times.
You're right, I have. It's necessary.
You're defending just absolutely horrific behavior.
Brian.
Let's go to the phone call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Robert. Robert, you're up here on the Vegas Take. What's going on? What do you think about all this?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Hey, JD, I really disagree with you, but let me tell you something.
That's fine.
It's posted at the front door. You have to wear a mask, and they generally do catch you. So I think the guy is just being kind of an idiot, and he's probably the same kind of an idiot that would stand in an aisle and not know how to cover his face when he sneezed. So I'm glad Costco and other stores are doing it just to protect other people. I don't see a thing wrong with it.
Amen, brother. I agree with you. Thank you for the phone call.
Good call, Robert.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. It should never be okay to treat somebody like that. Just like I said, it should never be okay to holding a protest, wearing your Trump stuff, and then seeing a local reporter just trying to do his job and people flipping him off, swearing at him, and getting in his face. That should never be okay either.
They thought, or they're angry with media in general. And,
so that's a defense for the way they treat them.
They don't have a lot of experience with media, obviously.
So because they don't have a lot of experience with media, they should somebody.
They are lumping that particular person in with CNN and MSNBC.
Which is ignorant.
I don't care. And all those
people are ignorant. Okay.
Wait, you know what? You finish my statement?
You're defending it, and it's indefensible.
It's indefensible.
Yeah, it's indefensible.
It's indefensible.
To treat somebody like that is indefensible.
Okay. Anyways, Brian, they were angry with the media. They lumped him into the media because they're thinking to themselves, okay, the media is able to do all these things and say all these things which are keeping us locked down, which are keeping us out of work, but they're getting paid their full salary while I'm not working.
All right,
and that's their thought process.
All right, well, we got to.
I have
take a break.
now.
Well, listen, we got to take a break.
Again,
we got to take a break.
Violence is much more horrific than getting angry at somebody and having reason to be angry.
Okay, we got to take a break. But if you defend somebody swearing at an employee for just doing his job, then I'm not surprised that you would defend some Trump supporters for swearing at a member of the media who's just doing his job as well. But we got to take a break. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about UNLV's athletic director Desiree Reed-Francois. Some people think it's a great thing that, she's still here at UNLV. I beg to differ, ladies and gentlemen. I'll explain why coming up next. It is the Vegas Take right here on KDWN.
Special report, coronavirus update. I'm
so you want to go Desiree and then
pizza? The reopening of America is accelerating today in all of the states and territories, including Connecticut, where the number of infections continues to decline, says Governor Ned Lamont, who's been in contact with some of his fellow governors.
I talked to my neighbors. It doesn't do me any good to open a bar and have...
He didn't really give an opinion. He just basically said he was throwing out the question: is this going to bring stability to the Mountain West?
We're doing this cautiously, but like I said, manufacturing, construction, a lot of the main pieces of our economy we kept open, and that kept Connecticut in better economic shape than a lot of our neighbors.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio today said he'll offer free coronavirus tests to the city's 169 nursing homes, and he'll provide staff to replace nursing home employees who test positive for the virus. The coronavirus count, the number of cases in the U.S. has now reached more than 1.5 million. I'm Christopher Cruz.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
Dude, when you walk in the Costco,
this report sponsored by D.R. Horton. Watch for slowing for a crash with injuries reported on Cactus at Valley View. Or take an alternate like Decatur instead to avoid delays. Another injury crash on Nellis Boulevard at Boulder Highway. There you could use Flamingo or Mountain Vista instead. No slowing to reports on the resort corridor looking good between the Spaghetti Bowl and Southern Beltway. D.R. Horton New Home Community Alpha Point is now open in North Las Vegas. Visit drhorton.com to schedule a private in-person or video tour today. D.R. Horton, America's builder and equal housing opportunity builder. Comments from the K-Don Traffic Center.
Hi, I'm Dave Mizrahi, owner of Best Mattress. All our stores are now open. And at the Best Mattress Memorial Day sales event, save up to $1,500 on the brands you know and trust. Serta, Beautyrest, Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns & Foster. And to make things easier on you, we're offering 72 months no-interest financing and free safety-first home or curbside delivery. Plus, get a free adjustable base with your mattress purchase. Shop with confidence with the Best Mattress 120-day satisfaction guarantee. Sleep easy and safe, friends. See store for details.
Brian, I hope you don't get arrested.
Chuck, I know it's super easy, but can you walk our listeners through the process of getting a signature loan at Dollar Loan Center?
You'll just need a couple things. Bring along your state-issued ID, recent pay stub, and a few pieces of mail to prove where you live. And if you're getting a loan online at don'tbebroke.com, you can scan and upload all your documents right to our members area.
Sounds easy. How long does the whole process take?
We print up the contract, walk you through it step by step, explain exactly what the costs are. We want to be sure you can really afford the loan. For a new customer, all this takes around 30 minutes, and you're out the door cash in hand. Once you're in the system, it's even quicker.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, where you can get up to $5,000 in just minutes. We have over 50 locations, or you can apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Ron S. is calling Sean on the hotline.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. K-Don.
There's nothing to explain.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro on a Wednesday. Oh, yeah, that's right. Not a lot going on in the sports world right now. Although we do have this Phil Mickelson-Tiger Woods golf match on Sunday. Tom Brady is going to be involved as well. And do you know who the other quarterback is going to be, JD? Take a wild guess. Pretty good quarterback in his own right, Peyton Manning.
Yep,
I'm sorry,
Mr. Peyton Manning. Sorry, my sunglasses fell on the floor.
You're like Trump. If he doesn't answer fast enough, you move on to the next.
Yeah, exactly. I got a quote for you today from Peyton Manning.
What did he say? He
said that if Olivia Manning didn't exist, Tom Brady would have 11 rings.
Okay, I don't know if I agree with that, but okay.
How can you not?
I don't know.
Well, Peyton Manning has 2 rings.
Yeah,
and Eli has how many?
He's got how many does Eli? I believe Eli has 2 as well, doesn't he? Yeah,
he does. So he was off. It should be 10 rings. Then.
Yeah, his math was a little off.
His math was off by 1.
All right. So speaking of math and speaking of money, Desiree Reed-Francois, the UNLV athletic director, has been on our show a number of times. She's a very nice lady. She's always been very nice to us. But I said 2 years ago, through the grapevine, people that know her very well, that her dream job would be to be the athletic director at UCLA. So news broke out, and you okay over there, JD?
Yeah, I drank some water. Went down the wrong.
Okay. All right. So anyway, news broke out that she was the front runner for the UCLA job recently, and that did not surprise me one bit. Now, she takes her name out of the hat. She makes an announcement, but she made that announcement after she learned that she was not going to get the job. Okay, let me tell you something. I had a very similar experience with Marvin Menzies, the UNLV basketball coach. I had conversations with him on the phone before he put his name in the hat. We had those conversations. He was very interested in the job. And then when they were about to make the announcement that Menzies was not getting the job, that it was actually Beard that got the job, Menzies gives me a call and says, I just want you to know, Brian, I've taken my name out of the hat. Complete BS, complete crap. He knew he wasn't getting the job. And then mysteriously, a few weeks later, he gets the job. We all know what's going on there. It's a bunch of BS. Desiree Reed-Francois did the exact same thing. Make no mistake about it, folks. The second she found out that she was not getting the job at UCLA, all of a sudden, conveniently, she says, I'm taking my name out of the hat. Anybody with any logic knows that. So our producer, Jason Stein, is going to tell us a little bit about this article that Mark Anderson wrote. Mark Anderson from the RJ, who covers UNLV hoops. What is he saying about this whole situation?
Well, essentially, Mark Anderson, who covers UNLV, is, the point that he's making is with Desiree Reed-Francois taking her name out of the hat, that this actually could be a positive because it provides a much-needed dose of stability to the school, a school that's had a lot of turnover in coaching staff and athletic directors, as you know.
All right, so here's my opinion.
He's speculating that this actually might be a good thing.
All right, so here's my opinion on that,
and several have done the same thing.
Here's my opinion on that, and here's why I disagree with Mark Anderson. Usually I agree with him on everything, but I think he's wrong on this. Desiree Reed-Francois does not want to be here in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And you might be saying, oh, Brian, how do you know? Give me a break. She wanted the UCLA job. She didn't get it. Okay? She wants – her heart is not here at UNLV.
And you can tell by just the hires that she makes. She makes these very conservative hires. She doesn't – she makes the hire that she believes has the least risk attached to it because, I think that the next major Pac-12 AD job that opens up, her name will be in that one too. I think that she definitely does not want to be here, Brian. And this has always been a stop for her, one of the stops in her career to propel herself, a stop along the way to propel herself to that next level.
When we look back at things, what has she actually done here? Let's review this for a moment, okay? Anybody would have fired Tony Sanchez. That was a must, okay? Anybody, a 12-year-old would have fired Tony Sanchez, okay? When it comes to the basketball program, Marvin Menzies, the racial epithets and all those other nonsense of the things that he was saying months before he was fired and where the program was out, anybody would have fired Marvin Menzies too. Not anybody would have hired a guy from all due respect to TJ Otzelberger, a guy from South Dakota State who had a few good years, the highest paid coach in the Mountain West, is ridiculous. We have no idea if these hires are going to work out or not. I hope they do. We have no idea. So to even say that she would be qualified to be the athletic director at UCLA, to me, is ridiculous.
Well, and she didn't exactly negotiate that deal very well. She paid him the highest salary in the Mountain West. She didn't take a look at Mike Miller, who would have taken the job for probably half.
TJ would have taken the job for half.
TJ would have taken.
You kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not half, but
well, you know what I'm saying.
Probably 700, 750, but 30 to 40% less.
Yes.
I mean, she didn't really drive a hard bargain by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And then the Arroyo hire, she actually had ties to him.
But I forgot something. Let's give her credit for this. She did offer students free tacos.
That was very, very big.
Yes. That definitely worked out because I think we had about 20 students.
Oh, yeah, the student section went from 9 to 16.
Let me tell you something.
Which is great.
Let me tell you something. That is in part her fault.
That's like an 80% increase.
I am going to flat out say it right now. That is partially her responsibility. You need to make sure. Okay. I just flew out. I just drove out to Southern Utah. Friend of mine, Todd Simon. Okay. We went out there. He's the head coach at Southern Utah, former interim head coach at UNLV. Do you know that in Southern Utah, they have about 20 times more students going to games than UNLV? Do you know how pathetic that is? Let me tell you why. Because Todd Simon got involved himself and went door to door and knocked on students' dorms and made sure that they showed up to the games. You think Francois is doing that? I'm not putting all of it on her. But partially, you got to put some responsibility on her. The crowds, particularly the students that come out to UNLV basketball games, is an effing joke. It is sad and it is embarrassing. So I ask again, ladies and gentlemen, what has she done here? I don't think she deserved the UCLA job, but quite frankly, I wouldn't have been sad if she left because I think UNLV should have somebody that wants to be here, somebody that wants to be here for the long haul. I understand how these situations work. You want to make more money, you want to further your career, fine. I personally believe the second Francois got here, her heart wasn't here at UNLV. This was a stepping stone job for her, and she wanted a bigger and better position. That is not the right frame of mind in any occupation. If you hire somebody, you want their mind to be here. That could be a radio show, you could be a teacher, you could be a mechanic. If you hire somebody as a mechanic and they only are going to be there for a short term because they want something bigger and better, you're not going to get their best work.
There is one, I guess, positive silver lining to this situation. The fact that she was turned down, because when we talked about it, I said if she's going to get the job, it's because she is a relatively, aesthetically pleasing female, and that could look good for the school from a PR standpoint, without a ton of experience, but does have ties throughout the country. she may now actually understand that she isn't qualified to get a big job like that, and she may actually try, make a conscious effort. I'm not saying she hasn't tried, but she would make a legitimate conscious effort to show some real success here to propel herself to that level, assuming that that's her goal, because
she hasn't done it yet.
Now granted, that job was a huge job. UCLA is a top 5 basketball school. They have one of the biggest budgets. I mean, they're one of the most well-known schools in the United States of America, and they're in, smack dab in the second largest city in the country.
Yep.
So that was a huge job for her, but she may kind of get off her high horse if she had one and realize that maybe I need to do more before I'm considered for a job.
Well, listen,
like that.
I'm just tired of the BS. I'm tired of it that her name is in the ring for the UCLA job. If she wanted to throw her name out of the hat, she could have done it weeks prior. There's a reason why she didn't do it, because she found out that she wasn't getting the job, and the moment she found out about it, she said, I'm taking my name out of the hat to make it sound like...
And said her focus is solely on UNLV.
Yeah, give me a frickin' break. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's a lie.
Yeah, that is one hell of a way to save face.
That's a lie. That's what it is. It's a lie. With all due respect to her, she's a nice lady. That's a lie. Don't say you took your name out of the hat. Just be honest about it. You didn't get the job.
And they just hired the other guy, right?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't get the job.
It's still open.
He had a massive resume, too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Why do people have to lie? Do you think? I mean, are there people that are that stupid in this city that think that she didn't take the UCLA job because her heart is here at UNLV? Is there any?
I don't know.
But hold on.
What else is she going to say?
Is there one reasonable person in this city that thinks she is telling the truth, that she didn't want that job? One person.
Mark Anderson.
No, I think Mark understands. I don't speak for him, but Mark's a really smart guy, and he has a good relationship with her.
So why can't we talk to Mark again on air? Why is that?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about that.
No, okay.
Anyway, why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, it's Pizzagate, and I'm not talking about Hillary Clinton. I'm talking about Michael Jordan.
We're not talking about a Jordan.
We're talking about The Last Dance, and we're talking about the last few episodes of The Last Dance over the weekend, where we learned that some people within the Bulls organization say that 5 people delivered a pizza to Michael Jordan, and that's why he got food poisoning before Game 5 against the Jazz. I've said it's also BS, and I gave my reasons why and what I think happened. But now we're learning, we have audio from the actual pizza delivery man himself out there in Utah. His name is Craig Fite. What is he saying about this Pizzagate Jordan story? We have the audio to prove that. I think I might be onto something here. I think this was a bunch of baloney. We'll take a quick break.
The pieces of the puzzle are falling into place.
Literally, yes. We'll take a quick break, and we'll have this audio for you coming back. It's the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn.
Can a tree change a life? At Trees for the Future, we believe trees make all the difference in the fight against poverty, hunger, and climate change. Through a proven permaculture method called the Forest Garden Approach, Trees for the Future has positively impacted over 26,000 farmers and children. Are you ready to leave a lasting impact on the world? Find out how to plant seeds of hope this season at trees.org/radio. That's trees.org/radio.
We understand that these are uncertain times. And while we are all looking for answers, many of you are also looking for help. That's why Liberty Mutual is automatically refunding a portion of customers' personal auto insurance premiums. We're also offering flexible payment options for those who have been financially affected by the crisis. In these uncertain times, we want you to know we are here to help. Learn more about what Liberty Mutual is doing at libertymutual.com/COVID-19.
I asked Sean if your dad needs any fodder. He said they've added some more salespeople to the building.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now
Sean
back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM.
That's Sean. I don't know if he's telling the truth.
All right, welcome back. It's the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. Wrapping up a Wednesday. If you know this show, Last Dance, documentary on the Chicago Bulls, the Dynasty on ESPN. Last few episodes just aired over the weekend. And in those episodes, and I've been very critical of this documentary, but in those episodes, there's a part where it's the night before Game 5 where the Bulls are playing the Utah Jazz up there in Utah, and the Bulls organization claiming that 5 people delivered 1 pizza for Michael Jordan. Now, I've said time and time again that I've heard from pretty good sources around the Bulls that night Jordan flew out to see one of his mistresses. He was not on food poisoning. He was actually on a hangover and didn't get any sleep from partying, and he wasn't feeling good. Now, if you don't believe me, that's fine. But we are now learning from the actual pizza delivery man himself. That's right. His name is Craig Fite. I don't know maybe he applied for the UCLA job. I don't know. I don't know what he's been doing these days. But Greg Feit apparently was the man who delivered the pizza to the Michael Jordan hotel room back in 1997, and he went on a Salt Lake City radio show, and he said he took great care to make sure that Michael Jordan's pizza was safe because he made it himself. Have a listen to this.
Yes, I'll make the pizza because I don't want any of you doing anything to it. And I said, and then I told the driver, I said, you're going to take me there. It'll be my first delivery. And I was like, oh. So I go ahead and I make the pizza, and for everyone's wondering what he ate. And I've been telling this to everybody. It was a large, thin and crispy, extra pepperoni pizza. So I went ahead, I made the pizza, and in fact, I kind of geeked out a little bit watching. I was making sure that it didn't puff up. It was a good pizza because, of course, it's for Michael. So I had no idea at the time it was for Michael, but
absolutely,
you assume it's for someone up there. And so I went ahead and we made the pizza, went and cooked it, and got in there. And so we went ahead and hopped in with the driver, and we head over to where they were staying.
All right, so he goes on now. And if you remember, in this documentary, people within the Bulls organization, who I think are liars, said that 5 people went to deliver this pizza. I never thought that was true to begin with. Here's what he's had to say about that.
The crap story that the guy said that there were 5 people. There was 2 of us, and I didn't even have that many people working at the time at the store, but there was only 2 of us. You had police car, if I remember correctly, being parked in there, and you had to identify yourself. We're dressed in all of our uniforms. Both of us are in uniform, and it's clear where we're coming from. Walk in, security guy looks at us, says, great, go ahead, going in. So I go ahead, and obviously the pizza has basically never left me. It's been around me the whole time. And so we get into there, and as soon as you walk into the room or into the building, you could start to smell the cigar smoke. And we get in onto the elevator and go up to, it was on the 2nd or 3rd floor. I think it was the 2nd floor. Anyway, we get up there, and boy, as soon as that door opened, I mean, it felt like got punched in the face with cigar smoke.
Well, that doesn't surprise me any, because that's all George did was drink wine and smoke. But he goes on now, and he goes on, and he talks a little bit about, and he's asked, did anyone else complain about getting sick? Here's his response to that.
I got called by the district manager saying, okay, if one guy got sick, how many others are we going to have to deal with? And there were no other reports. Nobody else got sick. In fact, later on, a few years later, I had talked to a few people that had gotten pizza that night too, and who knows how much truth's in it, but they're like, no, it was fine. Plus, it's a thin, crisp pepperoni pizza. It's tough to get food poisoning off of pizza unless, of course, obviously you add something to it, but that didn't happen because it sure as heck didn't leave my hands.
All right, so here's my thoughts on that, and I know this might seem like a shocker to many. Michael Jordan is a liar. He's a liar. The Bulls organization are covering up all the crap that he did. Just like when he went to Atlantic City during the playoffs, when he played the Knicks, they are covering up for the king, Michael Jordan. This didn't happen. Now, is it possible that they actually, he probably did eat a pizza. But again, the people that I've spoken to that are very close to this situation say that he flew out on a private jet to meet up with his mistress and partied all night.
Where did he go?
I don't know. I don't have that information.
It would be awesome if he went to like Maine.
No. The 2 rumors that I've heard, again, they're just rumors.
Right.
But one is St. George, Utah.
Okay.
And the other one is here in Las Vegas. All a pretty short flight from Salt Lake.
All right.
The fact that he was that sick from a pepperoni pizza is a bunch of baloney. It's a bunch of crap. That's what it is. And the fact that this Salt Lake City radio show, what a get. The fact that they were able to find this pizza delivery driver, I think, is awesome.
So anyway, you know what he was? He was actually the assistant manager. And this was like a 9 or 10 minute interview.
So he was like AJ in The Sopranos.
Yeah, he was. He's assistant manager, and he said, if you heard in that first cut, he said to his staff, he goes, I don't want any of you fools tampering with this pizza. So I'm going to make it. I'm the manager. I'm the assistant manager. I'm going to make the pizza. Not only am I going to make this thing with my bare hands, I'm going to be the one to deliver it, because basically he didn't trust his riffraff employees.
Right.
I mean,
he was like E in Entourage before.
The idea that you might think that this assistant manager was making this pizza and he wiped his ass with the dough is just completely ridiculous. The idea that, just in general terms, that they intentionally tried to food poisoned Jordan. Give me a break, guys. Michael Jordan's a liar. The guy was a partier. He was a compulsive gambler. He loved his wine and his cigars. Is he the best player of all time? Absolutely. But with that being said,
his wine, his cigars, and also his house.
And by the way, here's another example of how we know Michael Jordan is a liar. How do we know Michael Jordan's a liar? Because I remember he owed that pimp $60,000 on the golf course. It was some pimp that was involved with some really weird, shady dealings. But Michael, hold on,
like pimping.
But Michael,
I've heard it's not exactly easy.
But Michael Jordan paid this guy like a $57,000 check, and Jordan claimed, "Oh no, it was just for some favors or for this or that." Jordan lied, and then when he was questioned about it in the courtroom, because this guy actually was convicted of some serious crimes, Jordan had to be honest. And when he was honest, he said that was a gambling debt. And then when he was asked, Michael, why did you lie about it? This is a court document, by the way, when he was under oath. He said, because I was embarrassed because it was a gambling debt. Jordan lies. And you know what I think it is? Jordan is embarrassed. Here's what I think happened.
I think that he may have purchased women from this pimp.
Jordan was embarrassed. That's possible. Jordan was embarrassed at his behavior. I think it embarrasses him then, and it embarrasses him now. I believe that he hung out with a bunch of mistresses. He took a lot of private jets everywhere. And just like he lied about the gambling debts, he's lying about his mistresses and the sex he had. So to me, that's exactly what took place here.
So more to the, back to Craig Feit, the assistant. By the way, it was a Pizza Hut. That was like the only place that was open. And so Craig Feit said a couple interesting things. He said, first of all, why on earth would I tamper with the pizza? I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. He even named his kid after Michael Jordan, he said. And when he got up to the room, this was not in the audio, but he said, I knocked on the door and I gave him the pizza and I said, hey, I'm a big Jordan fan. Can I say hello to him? And they cracked the door open, and he waved at Jordan and said, hey, Michael, how you doing? So he was a huge fan. So why would he want to poison his idol? Why would he want to poison a guy that he liked? And the other thing is he said that Jordan was in there smoking like a chimney, smoking his cigars, drinking wine, playing cards. He also said where they were staying, it gets very cold at night, and all the windows were open. And he thinks that maybe Jordan just got a cold. Maybe he was sitting there and got sick that way. But this is also at 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, so it also lends credibility to the theory that he got on that private jet after the pizza and partied into the wee hours of the morning.
That's exactly what I think happened.
But again, he was such a good basketball player. Not even good, great basketball player. And he was just such a better athlete than everybody else in the NBA that he could do those type of things and get away with it, Brian.
Well, he did get away with it.
He did. But the guy won 6 rings.
Yeah, but I mean, you could tell me he won 100 rings.
In 37 of the playoff series that he played in, he led the series in scoring in 36 of them.
Okay, but here's where we disagree. You could tell me he had 1,000 rings, and it wouldn't change my opinion, and this is what it is. The night before a playoff game, if you're the guy that pushes your teammates to be better and claim that you're the hardest worker out there and that you don't take the game more serious than anybody else, we're not talking about a regular season basketball game. You're supposed to set the example. It's the night before Game 2 playoffs versus the New York Knicks, and you just lost Game 1. It is completely inappropriate to drive 2.5 hours with your dad to Atlantic City and steam gambling into the wee hours of the morning. That is completely inappropriate, and it's not the lead. Was Michael Jordan not a great leader? Of course he was a great leader, but the point I'm trying to make is
he wasn't a great example.
It sets a horrible precedence and example for your teammates.
I agree with that.
When you preach it every day in practice, and then you don't do it yourself. Now, in the documentary, Michael Jordan said, I never, did any, I always did what I preached to my teammates. Really? Would you have had a problem, Michael, if your teammates the night before a playoff game gambled until 2 a.m.? I'm pretty sure Jordan would have had a problem with that. If you're going to preach that stuff, you got to do it yourself.
Do you know why that is? Because he knows that they weren't good enough to be able to do it and still perform at a high level.
But
Michael Jordan was so goddamn good that he could do those things. I could say that.
Don't take the Lord's name in vain.
that he could do those things and still outperform everyone else. Because he was that phenomenal of a basketball player and that phenomenal of an athlete, Brian. But you're right, his teammates,
it's not about that.
Rodman could have done it probably, but no one else could have.
My opinion, what Rodman did was wrong too in the documentary when Rodman decided to do his WWF wrestling.
That was funny, though.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. I mean, this has nothing to do with how good of an athlete you were, how good of a basketball player you. It has to do with, are you an honest person? You got to do what you preach, right? And Jordan didn't do that. And I think this pizza situation, he doesn't have the credibility. I'm sorry, he doesn't. I'm not buying the fact that he left the game for a year because he wanted to be a baseball player. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the fact that it was just a random murder with his dad. I'm not buying any of that stuff, and I'm not buying the fact that he never bet on basketball games because, of course, he did.
And I am buying that because I want to think good about arguably the best basketball player and the most competitive person in professional sports of all time.
Well, you could think that all you want to, but I think the evidence,
that's fine.
The evidence speaks for itself. You could also think that Donald Trump has never cheated on any of his wives, too.
Not even close. Obviously, Donald Trump has cheated on his wife.
I'm just saying.
Now, has he done it since he's been in office? No, but Stephen Horsford has.
You can think that. You can think anything you want about a politician.
So did Mark Sanford.
You can think that all you want about.
So did Bill Clinton.
You could think that all you want about a politician or an athlete, but it doesn't change the facts. Facts are that Donald Trump has cheated on multiple ex-wives, and the fact is that Michael Jordan had a gambling problem. And Michael Jordan's gambling problem, he has a drinking problem. There's no question he had a lot of problems.
But those problems did not affect his on-the-court performance because, again, he was just that much better than everyone else.
There's a few games where it absolutely did affect his performance, particularly in Game 2.
How many games did he play in his career?
Again, you said it didn't affect him at all. And if you take thousands of games, I'm specifically talking about one game, which was a playoff game against the New York Knicks in Game 2, and it absolutely affected his performance. As a whole, did it? Of course not. But there are some specific, and by the way, that's why Michael Jordan wouldn't talk to the media for the next 6 months after that, because he didn't want to be held accountable, because he was embarrassed, and he didn't want to answer the questions about his gambling spree in Atlantic City the night before a playoff game. It is why he was very sensitive about that, and it's why to today he doesn't like talking about it. There are things today he doesn't like talking about.
Let's say that MJ didn't have a gambling problem. Let's say he didn't have a problem with going on private jets and hanging out with one of his many mistresses, because he was king sugar daddy as well as the best basketball player of all time. Let's say none of that existed. Would he have won 10 rings?
How would his
career been any different?
To me, this has nothing to do with rings. How would his career have been different? Well, for starters, I don't think he would have been.
You don't think his dad would have died?
For starters, I don't think he would have been harassed by the media as much as he was because of his gambling. I know that that's part of the reason why he won't do any interviews with people unless it's under his own conditions. Because of that, because he doesn't trust the media. He doesn't have a trust for the media because of his own doing. And you can make the case, they're just trying to take him down. Well, you know what? He did a lot of this stuff to himself. He didn't address the issue. All he had to do was get up there and say, you know what? I shouldn't have gone to Atlantic City. I made a mistake. Luckily, we still won the series, but he never did that.
He is the prime example of how valuable legitimate raw talent is, because he had more of that than anyone else.
Well, yeah, but this isn't, again, my opinions have nothing to do with raw talent or rings. It has everything to do with the fact that he's a liar. The man lies.
And he's worth $2.1 billion.
Well, again, his money has nothing to do with it.
He owns a basketball team. He's getting paid $90 million a year, despite that, for a shoe that comes out every single year, despite the fact that he hasn't played in almost 20 years.
But what you're talking about has nothing to do with my opinion. Again, the man lies. He's lying about this pizza situation. Members of the Bulls organization are lying about it to cover it up. They are liars, and Jordan has lied before. And I'm sure Jordan will lie again. And I don't appreciate anyone that does a documentary when the lead character in the documentary says, I'm going to have the final say in it, otherwise you're not doing it. I just think that's ridiculous.
Brian,
you don't get the truth.
How well do you think that a documentary about someone like Michael Avenatti would do?
Well, it's all dependent on if it's done the right way. Certainly his story is very unique, but you can't have one perspective.
But it can't be a puff piece, right?
No, it has to be done. It has to be done on both sides. It has to be done honestly, and it has to be done from both sides of the equation. People that don't like Michael Avenatti, people that have worked with him, and then those who are friends and family of Michael Avenatti. You have to get that. See, to me, that's what a documentary is. A documentary should be about getting down to the truth. You want the truth of a story. Hear from both sides, and if you don't know if you got the truth or not, let the viewers make that decision. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. I'm heading out to San Diego tomorrow. I'm going to have a fun time in San Diego, but I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. It's a holiday weekend. Please be safe out there. The legend himself, Sean Hannity, is coming up next, everybody. Have a great day.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ